Chapter 952. Then what else can you offer me other than martial arts? Lin Wuyu asked. Brother, didn't you want the technology of the steam engine? I can give it to you now. In addition, I can also give you the technology of the steam car as long as you want it. Lulu flew in the air, her transparent wings flapping rapidly. Lin Wuyu said, I'm afraid that's not enough. The casting technology of the Shattered Cauldron realm is not enough to build the steam engine. You still need to give me the advanced casting technology and the basic industrial knowledge. Just write them into words and give them to me as blueprints. Okay. Lulu nodded. Qin asked in confusion, Brother Yu, what is the steam engine? It's a kind of energy source, although it's a bit crude. Then, what's the use of the steam engine you mentioned? Tang Xiaoxi blinked and asked again, I mean, what's the use of it for the Empire's war? Lin Wuyu thought for a moment and said, if we can build steam trucks, our soldiers and provisions will be able to travel thousands of kilometers in a day. They won't need to ride horses to travel thousands of kilometers in a day. It will only take them less than 3 days to travel from Lanyan City to Winterfrost City. Of course, this is only the most ideal situation. Our roads are not completely repaired yet. So it's not weapons. Qin was slightly disappointed. If it's just to transport supplies and troops, I'm afraid it won't be able to improve our combat ability by a large margin. It can only improve our mobility in a small area. Also, the biggest problem we're facing right now is the lack of money and gold to build warships and heavy cannons. Yes, I know that too. Lin Wuyu pondered for a moment and said, not only that, we're also short of food. Food is always a problem in every campaign, especially when it's a long and arduous expedition. Food is always the biggest problem. Tang Xiaoxi pursed her red lips and said, the potatoes from the Forest of Infinity have become the biggest military ration. Dried potatoes are easy to store and can be soaked in hot water during the march. It's just that potatoes can't be planted all year round. We can only plant them 2 or 3 times a year. Yes. Lin Wuyu frowned. Lulu flapped her wings and said with a smile, Brother, you can create a thermostatic chamber. It shouldn't be a problem to create a thermostatic chamber in this world, right? Thermostatic chamber? Yes. Lulu said, the Celestial Ruler's factory may not have a lot of other things, but there is a lot of plastic. As long as we find a place with abundant sunlight and water, we can send worker ants to build a thermostatic greenhouse, and we can grow the potatoes you mentioned all year round. Lin Wuyu's heart skipped a beat. Lulu, didn't you say that the Celestial the Arch would not participate in any form of war? But growing food is only what farmers do, it has nothing to do with the war. Besides, the Sky Sovereign has the hidden consciousness of saving lives and saving people. As long as Big Brother gives me a piece of land, the worker ants produced by the Sky Sovereign will quickly grow a large area of potatoes to provide food for Big Brother. This is not considered interfering in the war, is it? Haha, that's great, that's great. Lin Wuyu was ecstatic. Qian Feng coughed and said, Lin General, behind this mountain range is a land bordered by a forest and a plain. It's about 100 miles of fertile land, but our divine race is not good at farming, so we haven't cultivated it. If it's really as this mysterious fairy said, then it's feasible. This subordinate can send troops to protect this place and divide this land into a potato plantation. Yes, that's settled. Lulu pointed to Qian Feng and said, Lulu, the matter of planting potatoes will be handed over to Marshal Qian Feng. Lulu seemed a little frightened. But Big Brother, this uncle is very fierce. He even brought a lot of big gray dogs to destroy some of the worker ants. Those aren't big gray dogs, those are the armored demon army of the divine race. Qian Feng explained with a pale face. Lulu didn't listen to Qian Feng's explanation and continued, there are about 200,000 worker ants under the Celestial Factory. According to their work efficiency, they should be able to plant the first batch of potatoes in 20 days. In addition, Lulu has a big gift for Big Brother. What big gift? Lulu bowed mysteriously and actually performed a Qin Empire's ladylike etiquette. Then she pointed to the black screen behind her. Suddenly, the light of stars appeared and soon, a huge map appeared on the screen. It was the map of Broken Cauldron World. At the same time, small gold, purple and white dots appeared on the map. In addition, there were also pieces of fiery red territories that looked like silk. This is the border of the map. Qin and Tang Xiaoxi's little mouths were wide open. Lin Wuyu was stunned and said, what are these? Lulu giggled and said, these are the results of Celestial Ruler's investigation of Broken Cauldron World for so many years. Big Brother, look, the gold icon represents a huge underground gold mine, the purple icon represents a purple crystal mine, and the silver icon represents a white diamond mine. As for the red icon, that is what Big Brother wants the most. Magic crystal mine. It can't be true. Qinyin couldn't help but open her flaming eyes. A pair of goddess-like beautiful eyes were filled with joy and hope. If these were all true, then it was simply an unimaginable wealth. Lulu smiled and said, "Sister Qinyin, these are naturally true. You are Big Brother's girlfriend, why would I lie to you?" Qinyin's face turned red and said, How do you even know this?" Lulu puffed up her small chest and said proudly, "Since Big Brother's S-rank identity allows me to integrate with celestial rulers' functions, then I can be said to know everything about this land." Lin Muyu was so excited that she was about to suffocate. She said, "Lulu, print this map according to the division of the province and give it to me. It must be specific and detailed, understand?" "Yes, Big Brother." Very soon the map was printed out, and Lin Muyu stored it away like a precious treasure. Lulu smiled and asked, "Big Brother, I also have the distribution of underground oil and rare metal mines. Do you need them?" "I don't need them for the time being. Rare metals are temporarily useless." "Yes, that's true. Most of those rare metals are used for aerospace. With Broken Cauldron World's technology, they probably won't be used for another 100 years. Lulu, you are now the spokesperson of Celestial Ruler. Who do you think is stronger, Broken Cauldron World or Earth?" "In terms of technology, Earth is naturally stronger, but in terms of strength, I'm afraid Broken Cauldron World is stronger. After all, spiritual energy is scarce on Earth, and there are very few cultivators. While focusing on developing technology, people have forgotten to train and explore their bodies and potential. Once they break through to the divine realm, all technology is equivalent to nothingness." "Yes, that's right." Lin Muyu smiled and said, "The hard fist is the hard truth." "In that case, Big Brother, can Lulu send the worker ants to open up the wasteland and prepare to plant potatoes? By the way, Lulu only collected a small number of potatoes and I need more germs. I need Big Brother to provide them to me." "No problem." Lin Muyu stood up and said, "Xiaoyin, Xiaoxi, we can't leave Lanyan City for too long. Since the matter here has been solved for the time being, let's return to Lanyan City immediately and start rebuilding the sacred martial palace and sending back the potato germs. The sooner the better. No one knows when the next war will come. In addition, I have put away the distribution maps of the gold, white diamond, purple crystal and magic crystal mines. Later I will separately order Su Jiantao, Tang Zhen, Qin Xiaoli, Qin Yong, Zhen Yifan, and other garrison generals to dig. We must firmly grasp these mineral veins in our hands. We can't let the Congress have a share of this, or else we will be even more passive in the future." "Yes, let's go." Qinyin nodded and then turned to Qianfeng and said, "Qianfeng, listen to the announcement." Qianfeng immediately knelt on one knee and said, "Your subject is here. I officially confer you the highest governor of Bahuang Province, with the rank of General of the Qin Empire. You will be in charge of the administrative and military affairs in the province. In case of emergency, you can act first and report later. In addition, you must discuss everything with Lulu about the potato plantation. Don't use force anymore. As long as Lulu requests it, you will be granted." "Yes, thank you for your gift, Your Highness." Qianfeng tried hard to hide his excitement. After all, the era of the three kings had passed, and now it was the era of the female empress. The old officials conferred by the three kings were no longer effective, and Qin Yin's words were a new edict, which was equivalent to a reinvention. Lin Muyu patted Qianfeng's shoulder and smiled knowingly. There was no need to talk too much between heroes. With Qianfeng in the eastern region of the empire, Lin Muyu could rest assured. With Lin Muyu in the capital, Qianfeng could also rest assured that the status of the demon race in the empire would not be trampled. The next afternoon, the three of them arrived at Lanyan City. The first thing was to collect potatoes. They used a total of 27 space bags and filled them to the brim. Tang Xiaoxi brought Terralin, Lake, and the other God State experts to Tongtian Gorge. Qin Yin had to stay in Zetian Palace Hall to manage the situation, and Lin Muyu had to implement the new military strategy of the Empire in the Divine Temple. This was extremely important for the Shattered Cauldron Realm. Only by improving and becoming stronger could the Shattered Cauldron Realm contend with the powerful Celestial Pole Continent. On the square of the Divine Temple, more than 1,000 Divine Temple employees waited solemnly. When Lin Muyu and Qin Yin walked up the steps of the Divine Temple together, everyone knelt on one knee. "Greetings, Lin General. Greetings, Great Deacon." In the eyes of the martial artists of the Empire, Lin Muyu was the true martial god. Her position in the hearts of the people of the Divine Temple was probably much higher than that of Qin Yin, the great deacon of the Divine Temple. After all, Lin Muyu was also the great deacon of the Divine Temple in the past, and was once the pride of the Divine Temple. Dispense with the formalities. Rise. Lin Muyu raised both his hands and looked at everyone with a humble expression. He said with a smile, "Originally, I shouldn't have interfered with the affairs of the Divine Temple. However, the situation was urgent, so I overstepped my boundaries. I hope that Great Deacon doesn't blame me." Qin Yan could not help but laugh. "What are you saying, big brother? The Divine Temple is your home to begin with." And Lin Muyu nodded. Indeed, he had started off as a sparring partner in the Divine Temple of Lanyan City and walked step by step to where he was today. This place was indeed like his other home. Chapter 953. Make it short. Lin Muyu cleared her throat and said, "This time I came to the Sacred Palace to restore the order in the Sacred Palace and rebuild the Sacred Martial Palace in the eyes of the warriors of the Qin Empire. This is also the intention of Her Highness Yin. This time I brought back a total of 114 martial arts manuals. Most of them are martial arts manuals that have never appeared on the continent. They are divided into 3 levels." The faces of the group of martial artists were filled with excitement when they heard this. Martial secrets and battle skills had always been scarce. Most families were unwilling to pass on their martial skills to outsiders. This was also human nature. Because of this, a very ordinary martial secret could be sold for several thousand gold coins on the market. This was enough to show how rare martial secrets were. Lin Muyu was very satisfied with everyone's performance. He continued, "There are a total of 4 first-class martial arts, namely the Martial God Arts, the Great Void Swordsmanship, the Great Karmic Fire Technique, and the Purple Thunder Fist. However, the essence of these martial arts is extremely difficult to comprehend, so only the Grand Deacon, Deacons, Gold Star Instructors, and sparring partners are qualified to practice them. There are a total of 11 first-class martial arts, namely the Bone-Crushing Palm, the Burning Wind Technique, the Fierce Gale Sword Technique, the Thundercliff Technique, and the Void Palm Technique. Only Silver Star Instructors and sparring partners are qualified to practice them. There are a total of 99 first-class martial arts, namely the Heart-Piercing Finger, the Thunderblade Technique, and the Hurricane Spear Technique. Anyone in the sanctum can practice these third-class martial arts." Everyone's emotions surged and they all knelt down one after another, shouting, "Long live Lin General! Long live the Empress!" Lin Muyu smiled faintly and handed the 4 first-tier martial arts manuals to Qin Yan. "Yen, don't copy these 4 manuals. Keep them in the secret room of the Sacred Hall. Send more experts to protect them. Don't let these martial arts spread to the Celestial Pole continent." "Yes, big brother, please rest assured." Qin Yan smiled cheerfully. Lin Muyu nodded. "Then I'll leave the matter of rebuilding the Sacred Martial Palace to you. I still have something to discuss with Brother Feng. And take care, big brother." At night in the Imperial Army camp. When Lin Muyu led Wei Chou, Situ Sen, and the others into the camp, Feng Jixing had already come out to greet them. With a red face he said, There must be something good this time. I heard that you went to the Tongtian Gorge and saw something strange. You must have gained something, right?" "Yes, let's talk about it after we enter the tent." "All right." Entering the tent, under the light of an oil lamp, Lin Muyu spread out a map on the table. It was a map of Lingbei province and there were many small marks on it. "This is..." Feng Jixing was stunned. Lin Muyu said, "The gold ones are gold ores, they can help us smelt and forge more Jinxing coins. The purple ones are amethyst ores, the silver ones are white diamond ores, and the red ones are magic crystal ores." "Really?" "Yes." "How did you get these positions?" Feng Jixing practically threw himself into the map, his face full of happiness. I'm rich. Lin Muyu was speechless. "It's a long story, I won't go into it. Anyway, it's absolutely accurate. Big brother Feng, I'm here to tell you that our Longdan army camp and the Imperial Army can mine these ores separately. The nearest gold and magic crystal ores to Lanyan City are less than 200 li away. Since there's no war now, we should make use of this time to make a fortune." N. Feng Jixing nodded repeatedly. Lin Muyu pointed at the map and said, "This place is close to the dragon-seeking forest. The gold ores here are very rich, enough to forge 1 billion Jinxing coins. With this 1 billion Jinxing coins we can build an imperial navy. The remaining money can also be used to forge magic crystal cannons and god-slaying cannons." Okay. Feng Jixing nodded repeatedly. "But the imperial treasury is empty. Even if we have Jinxing coins we have nowhere to spend them. You're just wasting your time, aren't you?" "Why is there nowhere to spend them?" Lin Muyu smiled. The rich families in Lanyan City have stockpiled so many resources, food, and manpower. But they're greedy. We'll use these Jinxing coins to exchange for their manpower and resources. We'll make them misers while we use these resources to defend the empire against powerful enemies and even open up new lands. Big brother Feng, where did you learn economics? Feng Jixing slammed his palm on the table. Where did I get the chance to learn economics? In any case, I'll leave this gold mine to you. The sooner the better. Shaoyin will also grant you the right to forge Jinxing coins. As for me, I'll bring the Longdan army camp to mine this magic crystal mine. It's located 50 li deep in the dragon-seeking forest. Remember, big brother Feng, I'll take care of the money. Alright. Then we'll only be left with the steam engine. Late at night, the two commanders of the Imperial Army and the Longdan army camp arrived at the Department of Weapons. Under the lamp, Qin Xiling stared at the blueprint of the steam engine for a long time without saying a word. He did not seem to understand it at all. On the other hand, old Roger, a mechanic from the land of exile, smiled and said, "The Marshal actually has the blueprint of the steam engine. It's really not simple." Qin Xiling smiled. "Teacher Roger, you know about this? It's a compulsory course for mechanics." Old Roger shook his head. "But I've studied it. The Shattered Cauldron realm doesn't have the technology to refine oil. So, if we're going to forge the steam engine, we can only use coal. There are coal mines. All the major chambers of commerce in Lanyan City sell coal," Feng Jixing said. "That's easy," Old Roger said confidently. "Since the Marshal and His Highness think highly of this old bag of bones, then I'll help Lord Qin Xiling complete the steam engine. However, I don't know if the Marshal wants to build a steam car or a steam train. Building a car in 3 months and building a railway in a year? Is that possible?" Lin Muyu asked. Old Roger muttered. "I'm afraid that will require a lot of money. I heard from the Ministry of Revenue that the national treasury is empty. There's no money to build a railway. I'll take care of the money. You just need to supervise the construction." "Yes, I understand. Please rest assured, Marshal." "All right." Lin Muyu didn't sleep for the entire night. His eyes were slightly red. He only returned to Zetian Palace when the sky was about to brighten. The side palace he lived in was silent. But the moment he opened the door, he saw Qin Yin's figure. She was fanning the fire by the stove. The iron pot on the stove was already emitting green smoke and a faint fragrance. Qin Yin's eyes widened. When she saw Lin Muyu return, she blushed. "Brother Yu, you're back?" Her face was covered in dust, and there were some black streaks on her beautiful face. The Empress, who had been pampered since she was young, had never cooked anything. It was really hard on her. "Shaoyin, you didn't sleep?" Lin Muyu was stunned. Qin Yin smiled. "I slept, but I woke up early. When I saw that you weren't around, I knew that you must have been busy all night. So I cooked some flour soup. It's good for people who stay up late. You can drink it in a while. If I remember correctly, there's a court meeting today. Well, I'll go over after you finish the soup." Haha. Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. "What are you laughing at?" Qin Yin wiped her face and asked worriedly, "Don't tell me that I look ugly now." "No, it's just that I feel that Shaoyin is becoming more and more like a daughter-in-law. You don't have the majestic demeanor of an empress anymore." Qin Yin burst into laughter. She stepped forward and held his hand. "When my father was alive, he said that I would get married sooner or later. I have to learn to take care of my husband and learn to be filial to my elders. Oh, brother Yu, you also said that you would bring me back to meet your father one day. So Shaoyin should learn to be virtuous first. I have to prepare for a rainy day." Okay. Lin Muyu smiled happily. She sat on the carpet and hugged Qin Yin in her arms. Immediately, she was filled with fragrance. The feeling of hugging a beautiful woman was indeed wonderful. It was worth it no matter how hard she suffered. In this life, a man might be very dazzling. He might be surrounded by beautiful women. However, if the woman in his arms wasn't the woman he loved the most, then no matter how successful he would still be a failure in his heart. This was something that many people couldn't see through. At this moment, a beeping sound suddenly came from the Chenkuan bag. Lin Muyu hurriedly took out a disc-shaped instrument from the Chenkuan bag and placed it on the ground. She said, "Lulu, come out." Bus. Three-dimensional projection technology. Lulu's image appeared in front of Lin Muyu. She smiled and said, "Brother, I'm here to report the results. I've already cultivated nearly 50 square kilometers of fertile farmland. Here I'll show you." The image changed. It was already the grid-shaped farmland in the Tongtian Gorge. The farmland was covered with plastic greenhouses. It was a magnificent sight. Lin Muyu was stunned. So fast? Of course. You definitely haven't seen the speed at which the worker ants dig the ground. It's like lightning. Is Xiaoxi here yet? Yes, we've just arrived, so we'll start planting potatoes soon. Marshal Qian Feng said that the water source will be diverted to the fields within 3 days, across 100 miles. That's great. Lin Muyu clapped her hands. Thank you for your hard work, Lulu. It's not hard on me. It's you, brother, who looks terrible. Lulu had a worried look on her face. She looked at Qinin, who was beside Lin Muyu, and said, Big brother, you have to control yourself. Although your body is the body of a god, if you use too much energy, you will still waste your essence. Lulu doesn't want to see Big Brother as thin as a stick. Ahem, what are you talking about? Lin Muyu was so embarrassed that she wanted to die. Qinin also understood. Her little face turned red, but she didn't know how to explain. She couldn't just tell Lulu that they hadn't started, could she? The soup is ready. I'll go get it. She hurriedly looked for an opportunity to escape. Lin Muyu was also speechless. Then that's it. Contact me if there's anything, Lulu. Okay. Goodbye, brother. The light disappeared in a flash. This communication device was quite useful. Lin Muyu could even use Lulu's celestial the arch system to directly contact Qian Feng, Qin Yong, and the others who were thousands of miles away. In a sense, she already had a huge advantage. Chapter 954. On the 7th of November, heavy snowflakes fluttered in the air above the forest of no return. The ground seemed to be covered with a layer of silver robe, and it was so cold that it made people shiver. However, from the snowy land west of the forest of no return, the sound of horns, war drums, and the sound of horse hooves could be heard. The two armies had officially begun their decisive battle here. The Celestial Empire had endured for nearly half a year, and now they had finally made their move against their strongest opponent. The armies collided with each other wave after wave. The roars of the dragons and the impact energy unleashed by the gods constantly swept up the snow on the ground. Balls of raging flames fell from the sky, and it was so hard to distinguish them from each other. The war had entered a white-hot stage as soon as it broke out. Qin Yu had sent out the strongest army of the Celestial Empire, which was also the strongest army of the Tianji Empire, the Yanji army, which was personally commanded by the Saint Martial God, Zhang Cheng. Amidst the heavy snowfall, an old man carrying a long blade stood in midair with his long beard swaying slightly. The raging flames were spinning rapidly under his feet, and he was constantly waving his long blade, releasing several hundreds of meters of cold blade energy into the crowd. This man was none other than the commander-in-chief of the Tianji Empire, Shang Qian's maternal grandfather, Zhang Cheng. Although Zhang Cheng was old, he was incomparably brave and fierce. He sat proudly in the middle of the army, causing the cavalry of the Celestial Empire to attack more than 10 times in a row, but they did not achieve much. Instead, they had suffered heavy losses. 3 armies, listen to my command, hold your positions. You are the most elite soldiers of the Tianji Empire, and guarding the country is our natural mission. Killing the enemy while bathed in blood is our supreme glory. If you don't move, you will live, and if you waver, you will die. Kill them all. Zhang Cheng's voice reverberated in the air like a huge bell, and although the soldiers of the Flame Ji army had only heard Zhang Cheng's voice, but they were greatly encouraged, each and every one of their eyes were blood red, and they brandished their weapons and fought with their opponents. Cavalry battalion, spear battalion, infantry shield battalion, archer battalion, all the battalions moved forward, but they were all crushed by the wheels of war, disappearing one by one. War was like this, killing was the price and victory was the ultimate goal. They fought from dawn to noon, but the snow was getting heavier and heavier. Both sides were exhausted, but the Heavenly Jew Empire, with the participation of nearly 300 Dragon Knights, still had a slight advantage, while the Yanji Corps, on the other hand, was showing signs of fatigue. The catapults, the dragon-hunting crossbows, and the torch stones were almost used up. The positional battle was decided by the formation and combat power. It was clear that the Yanji Corps' 250,000 soldiers were gradually becoming isolated under the encirclement of the enemy's 500,000 soldiers. On the snowy ground, a blood-soaked warhorse galloped over. The general on the horse had one of his arms chopped off and his face was covered in blood. With his other hand holding onto the reins, he shouted to the sky, "Great General, something bad has happened." "What's wrong?" Zhang Cheng asked coldly. "Demon Spirit. The Demon Spirit clan has appeared. They are attacking the left army from the west side of the Forest of No Return. There are tens of thousands of demon spirits, including demon kings and demon venerables. It is said that even the demon emperor Nuslik has come. Our brothers are almost unable to hold on any longer. Everyone is exhausted. If the battle continues, it will get out of hand. Zhang Qing frowned. The Lanji army is currently on the way to reinforce us. Once we give up the position here, it would be equivalent to handing over the eastern door of the Qinji Empire to the enemy. That brat Qinyu will use all his tricks and schemes. He will enter the plains and start fighting with us on the vast land. At that time, the Qinji Empire will have even less chance of winning. This subordinate also knows this, but Great General, we have already lost tens of thousands of soldiers. If we continue to fight like this, I am afraid that all the brothers of the Yanji army will die here. Why would the demon emperor Nuslik collude with the dogs of the Celestial Empire? Zhang Qing was full of annoyance and asked, General Liu, isn't Lord Zai leading the Battle Angel army and the reinforcements here? When will they arrive? Lord Zai's army is resting in Lingyuan County the day before yesterday. Lingyuan County is 300 miles away from here. Even with the cavalry, it will take 3 days. It seems that the Celestial Empire wants to take down our position in one go. We can't wait for that time. Zhang Qing sighed. Forget it? To think that the Yanji army would have such a day. To think that I, Zhang Qing, was praised as an invincible general by the people of the Celestial Empire. Today I have fallen into such a situation. I have let down the Celestial Empire, I have let down the Saint Emperor. General Liu, give the order to retreat. Order the rear army, left army and right army to retreat slowly. I will lead the middle army to bring up the rear. The general surnamed Liu hesitated for a moment, then cupped his hands and said, Yes, this subordinate obeys. The drums of retreat sounded hurriedly. Under the curtain of snow, the soldiers of the Yanji army revealed a smile as if they had been pardoned. The army retreated one after another, leaving behind nearly 60,000 middle army to resist the army of the Celestial Empire. But Qinyu obviously did not want to give the opponent any chance to breathe. The dragon riders in the sky danced wildly, the cavalry on the ground madly rushed forward. In addition to the demon spirit army on the other side, the middle army of the Yanji army was surrounded in the blink of an eye. This battle lasted for 1 day and 1 night. In the early morning of the next day, the snow was still falling. The entire snowfield had been dyed red, but the red snow was quickly covered by new snow. The position of the middle army of the Yanji army was getting smaller and smaller. From the initial few miles, it became 1 mile, and then it became a few hundred meters, until there were less than 10,000 people surrounded by the enemy. Boom! Raging flames soared into the sky. It was Zhang Qing who had raised his long blade and swept it horizontally. The hundreds of meters long raging flame blade chi instantly turned a group of the cavalry of the Celestial Empire into ashes. The power of a god emperor should not be underestimated, let alone Zhang Qing, who was a level 84 paradise god emperor. But after a day of fierce battle, Zhang Qing's power was not as good as before. His face was rather pale, and the hand that was holding the long blade was trembling slightly. He was left with less than 30% of his divine power. If not for the protection of the divine wall, he would have been killed by the demon heart arrows used by the opponent's dragon riders. Protect the general. Kill. The remaining power of the defeated army was not enough. But very soon there were only a few thousand of them left. They were facing hundreds of thousands of soldiers of the Celestial Empire. Under the great disparity in strength, it seemed that the Yanji army did not stand a chance. The crowd of cavalry slowly separated, and a man came out on a horse. He was dressed in a pure white robe that was whiter than snow. He looked rather handsome. He was the emperor of the Celestial Empire, Qinyu. Beside him were Han Yuan and Liao Yang, who were in charge of protecting him. Old General Zhang Qing. Qinyu raised his head and looked at Zhang Qing, who was standing proudly in the sky. He said, You are a senior and also an elder of the Celestial Pole continent. The 3 empires of the continent are originally one, and we are also one family. Why must we fight to the point of not holding anything back? Junior Qinyu, may I be so bold as to ask old General Zhang Qing to put down your weapons and shake hands in peace? How do we shake hands in peace? Zhang Qing's pair of turbid eyes shot out a ray of light. Very simple. Qinyu spread his hands and said, Senior, put down your weapons and join the army of my Celestial Empire. Junior admires Senior's virtues and conduct, and is willing to worship you as the general of the Celestial Empire and confer the title of king. I wonder if old general is willing? Confer the title of king? Zhang Qing's body trembled and he laughed out loud. Qinyu is indeed Qinyu. You have such courage at such a young age. I have made countless contributions to the Qinji Empire, but I am only conferred the title of Marquis. In my Qinji Empire, Only the descendants of the Northern Dark Royal family can be conferred the title of king. I didn't expect His Majesty Chen Yu to confer the title of king on me. Aha, this is really surprising. So, old general agrees? Chen Yu smiled in surprise. However, Zhang Qing frowned and said coldly, "No, I refuse. Even if I have to fight to the last man, I, Zhang Qing, will never surrender. Besides, my Zhang clan, the Shang clan, and even the people of Tianji City all praise me for being loyal and courageous. If I surrender, how am I going to face my fellow countrymen and my family with my old face?" As he spoke, the long saber in Zhang Qing's hand was instantly burned red by the divine power. He laughed out loud and said, "Let's fight. Even if I die, I won't kneel to you bastards. You're simply too stubborn." Qin Yu frowned and said, "Continue to kill, leave no one alive." Han Yuan said, "Then what about Zhang Cheng? He is Qinji Empire's Mount Tai and Big Dipper. If we kill Zhang Cheng, I'm afraid that old fellow Sikong Ming won't be able to sit still. I want him to be unable to sit still." Qin Yu lightly pulled out his sharp sword and said, "Kill. Lord Han Yuan, it's up to you now. Bring Zhang Cheng's head to me." Understood. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the remnants of the Yanji army disappeared from the snowy ground. Han Yuan descended from the sky with a bloody head in his hand. He threw it down and it rolled on the snowy ground. It was the head of the white-haired Zhang Cheng. As a god emperor, he would rather die in battle than to break the void and escape. This was what made Zhang Qing respectable. Qin Yu squinted his eyes and said coldly, "Zhang Qing, that old fool?" Han Yuan took out a sparkling and translucent godhead and said, "This is Zhang Cheng's cast immortal godhead. Your Majesty, please accept it." "No need." Qin Yu shook his head. "Since Lord Han Yuan killed him, you can keep this cast immortal godhead for yourself." "What? Zhang Cheng's death seems to make your Majesty unhappy?" Liao Yang seemed to have noticed something. Qin Yu frowned and said, "I just feel that it's a pity. A famous general like Zhang Qing shouldn't have died in battle like this. Unfortunately, Tianji Empire doesn't have anyone capable. If there were a few more people like Zhang Qing, I'm afraid we wouldn't be able to step into Tianji Empire's territory no matter how many troops we have. Someone bury Zhang Qing here and build a martyr's mausoleum. Attack the county city in front of us and make it our resting place." "Yes, Your Majesty." 2 days later, the news spread to Tianji City. In the main hall, all the officials were shocked. Great General Zhang Qing really died in battle? He's a god emperor. That's right. How could such an expert die in battle? I heard that the Celestial Empire used Han Yuan and other god state experts from Tianjua sect. No wonder. The empire is in danger. Chapter 955. Be quiet. Sitting on the throne, Baiming Yuan listened to the discussions of the officials, and could not help but feel upset. Zhang Cheng and Baiming Huan were his right-hand men, but now both of them had died in battle. The Tianji Empire was no longer the strongest empire on the Heaven Pole continent, and it was declining day by day. It had become the weakest one. Let's talk about it. What should the empire do now? Baiming Yuan looked at the crowd coldly and said, "The Celestial Empire is coming aggressively. The Yanji Corps on the eastern border has already been defeated. General Zhang Qing has been loyal all his life and sacrificed his life for the empire. Who would be willing to lead the troops to fight against the Celestial Empire?" The officials were silent and the generals looked at the ground. Who would dare to fight against the Celestial Empire now? The Celestial Empire was said to have 1.5 million soldiers. Plus they had 400 dragon knights. Who would be able to fight against them? Most importantly, the Tianji Empire's expedition to the Shattered Cauldron world had consumed a lot of national power. Not to mention the 400,000 soldiers that died in battle, most of the money and food in the national treasury had been used up. Adding the defeat of the Yanji Corps, the Tianji Empire didn't even have 400,000 soldiers now. How could they fight against the 1.5 million Celestial Empire? After a while, an old general cupped his hands and said, "Your Majesty, Lord Zai has led nearly 50,000 soldiers to Lingyuan County City. He should be fighting against the Celestial Empire now. With the ability of Lord Zai's Radiant Angel, I'm afraid it won't be easy for the Celestial Empire to take Lingyuan County City. Besides, Chen, you must be afraid of the Radiant Angel's identity. After all, it's not easy to fight against the Heaven Realm." "Zai." Baiming Yuan sneered, "King Lanji, don't forget that Zai is the Radiant Angel, the god of the Western Heaven Realm. The whole Celestial Pole continent is in the Western Heaven Realm's pocket. Do you think Lord Zai will fight against the stronger Celestial Empire to help us? King Lanji was stunned. Your Majesty, you mean? Lord Zai will help no one? That's right. Lord Zai's mission in the mortal realm is to help the Celestial Pole continent destroy the Shattered Cauldron realm. Do you think he will participate in the internal war of the Celestial Pole continent? I think Lord Zai's position is definitely for us to make peace and attack the Shattered Cauldron realm together. However, this is absolutely impossible. Qin Yu has the ambition of a wolf, and his desire to destroy me is already very obvious. King Lanji said, Your Majesty, if this is the case, this humble subject suggests sending someone to the Blackstone Empire. Now, only by joining hands with the Blackstone Empire can we resist the formidable Celestial Empire. That's exactly what I was thinking. Bai Ming Yuan placed his hand on the hilt of his sword and said, It's just that. We don't know who should we send to the Blackstone Empire? I'm willing to go, King Lanji said in a low voice. All right, permission granted. We'll depart on the same day. As he spoke, Bai Ming Yuan paused for a moment. There's still one more important matter. Currently, the Empire still has the Lanji Corps, the Yinji Corps, and the local provincial garrison troops. In total, there are close to 700,000 troops. Who will lead them? If we don't resist, I'm afraid that Qin Yu will be able to sweep through the entire territory of our empire within a month. King Lanji cupped his fists and said, This humble subject recommends a person who will definitely be able to take on this great responsibility. Speak. Gong Shangming. Gong Shangming? Bai Ming Yuan squinted his eyes, but in the battle of the Shattered Cauldron realm, Gong Shangming's strategy was not above that of Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, and the others. It was his improper command that led to the defeat of the army. In the end, all our efforts were in vain. Do you still want us to continue to put this person in an important position? King Lanji smiled faintly, Your Majesty, although Gong Shangming is good at strategy, he was restrained by Zai, Marshal Bai Ming Huan, and the others in the battle of the Shattered Cauldron realm. He didn't have complete decision-making power, so he was defeated. Moreover, the Shattered Cauldron realm has been at war for many years. Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, Su Jiantao, and the others are all famous generals. Each of them is smart and cunning. Gong Shangming might not be able to defeat these people, but he might not necessarily be able to defeat those generals of the Celestial Empire. Your Majesty, don't forget that the Celestial Empire is the same as us. They haven't had any wars for many years, so they are impatient. Gong Shangming's defeat in the Shattered Cauldron realm is his capital. If Your Majesty appoints a scholarly general like Gong Shangming as the marshal, the Celestial Empire will inevitably look down on us. If Your Majesty appoints a scholarly general like Gong Shangming as the marshal, the Celestial Empire will inevitably look down on us. In this way, the Qinji Empire will naturally have a chance to win. On the 10th of November, it was snowing heavily. Gong Shangming formally became the new marshal of the Qinji Empire in Qinji City. On the 11th of November, the army of the Celestial Empire encountered Zai's troops in the Lingyuan County. Just as Bai Ming Huan had expected, Zai remained neutral and didn't make an enemy of any side. Instead, he advised Qin Yu to stop the war and make peace, but Qin Yu refused. On the 15th of November, King Lanji personally led her troops to the capital of the Blackstone Empire, Thousand Mountain City, and was personally received by Emperor Shi Yuan. In the main hall, the sound of drums and music could be heard. Although the Blackstone Empire had gone through a war, the imperial capital, Thousand Mountain City, was still filled with the scene of singing and dancing to celebrate peace. This was probably Shi Yuan's strategy to rule the country. One should enjoy life to the fullest. Don't let the golden cup face the moon emptily. Moreover, King Lanji couldn't feel that the Blackstone Empire had gone through a war. He couldn't help but frown as he felt that this ally of his was very unreliable. As the envoy, King Lanji was arranged to sit very close to Shi Yuan. There were two beautiful women accompanying him, and they were both wearing light and elegant dresses. Their figures were very soft and charming. However, King Lanji's mind was completely focused on the Treaty of Alliance, so he didn't care about these beautiful women. Moreover, as a marquis he had never lacked women. Your Majesty Bai Ming Huan, have you been well recently? Shi Yuan squinted his eyes and asked with a smile. King Lanji hurriedly raised his cup and said, Everything is well. Thank you for your concern, Your Majesty. That's good. Shi Yuan drained his cup in one gulp and said, The Celestial Empire is coming aggressively. I have already heard the grievous news of great General Zhang Cheng's death in battle. He would rather die than surrender. He is truly a famous general. Thank you for your praise, Your Majesty. Shi Yuan continued, Qin Yu has the ambition of a wolf. He divided his troops into two groups. One group attacked the Qinji Empire from the Forest of No Return, with a total of 1 million soldiers. The other group confronted the Blackstone Empire's army at the Jinyun Pass, with a total of 500,000 soldiers. With 500,000 strong enemies outside the pass, how could our Blackstone Empire not defend against them? Therefore, our country's 200,000 Gale Legion and the newly trained 200,000 State Guard Army are almost all stationed at the Jinyun Pass. They simply don't have time to care about the war in the Qinji Empire's territory. King Lanji's brows knit together tightly as he said, "Your Majesty, you ought to know as well that once the Qinji Empire is annihilated, the next would surely be the Darkstone Empire. Qin Yu's objective is to unify the entire continent and not just a mere Qinji Empire." "I naturally know." Shi Yuan pondered for a while and said, "But there are no troops in the country. King Lanji should have seen it on your way here, right? Thousand Mountain City is the capital of the country, but it has less than 10,000 soldiers. At this time I am more worried that Qin Yu will send a cavalry to the south and directly attack Thousand Mountain City. If that happens I am afraid that my lair will be in danger." Shi Yuan burst into laughter. King Lanji had the intention to die. He really didn't know if the people of the Darkstone Empire were madmen or if they were daring because of their skills, so he could only laugh dryly and say, "Your Majesty is wise and mighty, so you'll surely not be attacked by that kid Qin Yu from the south. I'm extremely at ease about this. However, since your esteemed empire has decided to form an alliance with my empire, could it be that you really can't send out a single military force?" "I really can't." Shi Yuan shook his head. "I really have the heart but I am powerless. However, I do have a way to solve the crisis of the Qinji Empire." "Oh? Your Majesty, please tell me directly. Does Your Highness King Lanji know about the Baizhe mercenary group?" "This? I have heard a little about it. In the past 6 months, there have been rumors about the mysterious appearance and disappearance of the Baizhe mercenary group. It is said that the leader of this mercenary group is a bastard son called Liu Bai. His cultivation is average, but he has nearly 100,000 mercenaries. Moreover, they are well equipped. They can be compared to any regular army of the empire on the continent." Shi Yuan smiled faintly. "Actually, it is not 100,000 people. It is 180,000 people." "What?" King Lanji was shocked. "A mere mercenary group has 180,000 people? They don't have any income like taxes. How do they feed these 180,000 people? Your Highness, you may not know this, but the Baizhe mercenary group has already occupied 7 of my cities." Shi Yuan pounded the table and said, "If I am not distracted, I will personally lead the army to destroy them." King Lanji blushed with shame. "Your Majesty, why did you mention the Baizhe mercenary group to me?" Shi Yuan smiled. "Your Highness, you may not know this, but the real mastermind behind the Baizhe mercenary group is not Liu Bai. Liu Bai's scheming, shrewdness, and strength are far from being able to create such a powerful mercenary group." "Then who is it?" "Si Kongyao." "What?" King Lanji was so shocked that she sat up straight. How is this possible? Isn't Si Kongyao the granddaughter of Lord Si Kongming? How could she be the real master of the Baizhe mercenary group? However, this is the truth. Shi Yuan said, "I have already pointed out the path for Your Highness. If Your Highness can invite the Baizhe mercenary group to participate in the war, these 180,000 elites can directly go north and attack the enemy together with your country's main force. Even if Qin Yu has millions of troops, he will still fail on the verge of success. Moreover, Si Kongyao is a person of your country. She has a good friend named Shang Qian. This Shang Qian's grandfather is the old General Zhang Cheng who died in the war. If King Lanji sends a letter to invite Miss Shang Qian to the Baizhe mercenary group's camp to personally invite Si Kongyao to help in the war, the great event can be expected." King Lanji's thoughts were a bit chaotic. "Your Highness, do you still want to wait?" Shi Yuan laughed. "Come, give King Lanji a pass token so that he can freely come and go in the territory of the Blackstone Empire." King Lanji finally couldn't sit still anymore. She stood up and said, "There is no time to lose. Sending reinforcements is like putting out a fire. This humble king will leave first. Thank you for Your Majesty's suggestion." "We won't send Your Highness off. Leave." King Lanji left the banquet table with his attendants. After watching King Lanji leave, an old civil official immediately laughed and said, "Your Majesty is wise and powerful. Not only can you send off King Lanji if he can really invite Si Kongyao, we can also kill two birds with one stone and drive away the god of plague by Zay mercenary group. That would be great. Shi Yuan's mouth raised. We will wait to reap the benefits. Chapter 956. On that day a letter was sent to the north. It carried the only hope of King Baizé and the only hope of the Tianji Empire. It seemed to be destined that only by cooperating with the Baizé mercenary group could they save the Tianji Empire. Fortunately, the real master of the Baizé mercenary group was Si Kongyao. As a person of the Tianji Empire, she should be able to help. On the 24th of November, the heavy snow blocked the road. However, in the heavy snow, a group of people was still coming. There were about 20 people riding on good horses of the Blackstone Empire. The horseshoes were the standard horseshoes of the Tianji Empire's army. The knight who was walking at the front had a slim figure. Although she was wearing a thick leather robe, it could still be seen that she was a graceful woman. In the heavy snow, several people raised torches on the official road. One of the guards shouted, "Are you Miss Shang Qian?" "It's me." The woman lifted her cloak. Her delicate face was very bright under the light of the torches. However, her eyes were a little red and swollen. It was obvious that she was too sad. After all, her grandfather Zhang Cheng was the head of the family. He was the backbone of the whole family. Zhang Cheng's death was a huge blow to Shang Qian. It was as if the sky had collapsed. The guard said in a low voice, "You finally came. Her Highness King Lanji is waiting for you in the post house. Rest for a night and tomorrow we will leave for the Demon Palm Prefecture. You will be able to see Miss Si Kongyao before dark." "Yao she has been here for half a year?" "Yes, Miss Shang Qian. Now please follow me to see Her Highness." Okay. Although the post house was still cold, it was much better than the wind and snow. Shang Qian entered the post house with her entourage. She immediately took off her robe that was covered with snow. The attendant in the post house quickly took out a new leather robe and put it on her. Under the escort of the crowd, this miss of the Shang family went straight into the reception hall of the post house. "Greetings, Your Highness King Lanji." Shang Qian performed a ladle-like salute. King Lanji was sitting by the brazier. She stood up and said with a smile, "Miss Shang Qian has worked hard. Come and warm yourself up. The weather is too cold. I have ordered the courier house to prepare food and wine. You will soon be able to eat warm dishes." "Thank you, Your Highness." Shang Qian walked forward and sat on the chair opposite to King Lanji. Her eyes were slightly red as she said, "Your Highness, did you call me here just to persuade Yao?" "That's right." King Lanji said, "Since Miss Si Kongyao can establish a foothold in the Devil's Palm Peaks and has nearly 200,000 troops, it shows that her ambition isn't small. My Baiming family doesn't have much face. I'm afraid that we have to ask Miss Shang Qian to persuade Si Kongyao." "But, if you persuade sect leader Si Kongming, wouldn't it be more convenient?" Miss Shang Qian. King Lanji sternly said, "The evil thieves of the Celestial Empire have invaded our border, killed our generals and seized our cities. Shouldn't every citizen of the Tianji Empire be working for the country? Everyone knows Si Kongyao's temperament. She has always been amenable to coaxing but not coercion. I believe that in this world, besides you, no one can persuade her. Not to mention, your grandfather General Zhang Cheng he." "Don't say any more." Although Shang Qian was sitting there, her body was slightly trembling. Tears were welling up in her eyes. "My grandfather is loyal to the country. I'm proud of him. Please don't say any more." King Lanji was silent for a few seconds. Then she cupped her hands towards the sky and said, "The heavens are bright and the earth is long. General Zhang Cheng is a loyal hero. Heaven and earth can be his witness. Not only are you proud of him but all the people of the Tianji Empire are also proud of him. Therefore this time we must persuade Si Kongyao to send troops. Only when Si Kongyao sends troops can we have a chance to win. Only then can we take revenge on the wolves of the Celestial Empire." "Your Highness, you don't need to say any more. Since I'm here, I will certainly try my best to persuade Yao tomorrow. And thank you, Miss Shang Qian, for being so understanding." Everyone was silent. After dinner they went back to their rooms to rest. In fact, everyone had a bright light in their hearts. They didn't need to say anything. They all knew what they should do. The next day the heavy snow stopped for the first time. They set off in the early morning. When the sun was setting in the west, they saw a towering city standing against the mountains in the distance. It was the capital of the Demon Palm Prefecture. It was the closest city to the Demon Palm Peaks. Therefore it became the new lair of the Baizé mercenaries. When they were 5 miles away from the city, they were intercepted by a group of cavalrymen dressed in white robes. There were about 100 of them, and every one of them wore a badge embroidered with a white mythological beast on their shoulders. That was the symbol of the Baize mercenaries. Who are you? How dare you break into the Baize mercenary station? The centurion pulled out his sharp sword. The blade was shining with the golden light of the setting sun. King Lanji frowned. The strength of this centurion had reached the realm of the heaven realm. Moreover, the horses of this group of cavalrymen were steeds with great endurance and leg strength. Each cavalryman was wearing an iron armor that weighed more than 50 kilograms. Even the sides of the horses were covered with armor. There was a heavy round shield hanging on the back of the horses. King Lanji couldn't help but think of a word: heavy cavalry. That's right, these 100 people were all heavy cavalry. King Lanji couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. The financial resources of the Baize mercenaries could be seen from this. There were not many armies in the entire celestial pole continent that could be equipped with such a complete set of heavy cavalry. Even the main forces like the Lanji Corps and the Yenji Corps only had 10 to 20,000 heavy cavalry at most. However, what qualifications did the Baize mercenaries have to have heavy cavalry? Heavy cavalry, the trump card of the plains. They weren't afraid of arrows and crossbow bolts. It seemed that there was really hope. Therefore King Lanji cupped his fists and said, "I am the left prince of the Qinji Empire, King Lanji. This is the young lady of the Shang family, Shang Qian. She is a good friend of the master of your Baize mercenaries, Miss Si Kongyao. I have come to pay a visit to Miss Si Kongyao. Please take us to her." "You are Miss Shang Qian?" The centurion was stunned. Then he raised his sword and cupped his fists and said, "Please come with me. Miss is in the city. She said that there are 2 people who came to see her. You don't need to report and you can directly take them to see her. Miss Shang Qian is one of them." "Thank you." Shang Qian squeezed out a smile and urged her horse to follow a group of heavy cavalry to the Devil's Palm Prefecture. Then she asked unwillingly, "General, may I ask who the other person is?" The centurion smiled. "The former Qin king of the Shattered Cauldron realm, the current marshal of the Qin Empire, Madame Lin Muyu." "Lin Muyu?" Shang Qian pursed her red lips. She couldn't help but feel a sense of loss in her heart. Lin Muyu's heroic appearance appeared in her mind. Yes, it was that person who defeated Bai Ming Huan and Bailey Qin in the Shattered Cauldron realm. It was also this person who caused the entire celestial pole continent to fall into chaos. Shang Qian was a little regretful. If she had taken the initiative back then, perhaps she could have kept this person, right? However, she changed her mind and smiled. How could that be possible? Would such an unruly and ambitious person stop for a woman? Probably not. After entering the Devil's Palm Prefecture, the Baize mercenaries could be seen everywhere in this prefecture city. There were heavy cavalry, mounted archers, long spear soldiers, heavy shield soldiers, sword soldiers, and so on. The distinctions were clear and the formations were strict. How could this be a mercenary group? They were simply much more elite than a regular army. King Lanji looked around while walking, and the more he looked, the colder he felt. A mere mercenary group could have such a fighting strength. It seemed that the era of the Qinji Empire was indeed about to pass. If they didn't seek flexibility, they would eventually be replaced. He clenched his fists and suddenly a crazy idea came into his mind. Regardless of whether the Baize mercenaries could send out troops or not, as long as the Celestial Empire was defeated, the Baize mercenaries absolutely couldn't be left alive. Otherwise, it would inevitably become a big problem for the Qinji Empire. "Please come in." There were also city gates in the city. After King Lanji, Shang Qian and the others passed through 2 city gates, they finally arrived at the so-called General's Mansion, the core area of the Baize mercenaries. In front of the General's Mansion, there were 2 lifelike carvings of giant beasts. It seemed as if they would break out of the stone at any time and devour everything. They were incomparably majestic. On both sides there were imperial guards with swords. Each and every one of them were wearing armors and were looking straight ahead. The military law of the Baize mercenaries was even stricter than that of the Yenji Corps. "Is this the masterpiece of Yao in the past 6 months?" Shang Qian said to himself. It was somewhat unbelievable. But at this time, a graceful figure appeared at the end of the stairs of the General's Mansion. It was Si Kongyao, who was wearing a military uniform. The leather soft armor that outlined her exquisite figure was incomparably enchanting. When she saw Shang Qian, she suddenly smiled. Her smile was as brilliant as a mountain flower. "Sister Shang Qian, why are you here?" Shang Qian smiled. She stepped forward and hugged Si Kongyao. On the contrary, King Lanji, the left prince, was given the cold shoulder. He was not greeted until he entered the general's mansion's meeting hall. Perhaps it was not a greeting at all, because the seemingly unremarkable Lu Bai did not seem to care about him at all. Cough cough. King Lanji could not help but cough twice. Only then did Shang Qian say, "Yao Bai, this is King Lanji, the left prince of the Tianji Empire. This time he came with me to discuss the covenant with you." Covenant? Si Kongyao's eyes widened. Yes. Shang Qian's eyes turned red. The Celestial Empire invaded. Grandfather unfortunately died in battle. He sacrificed his life for the country. The 900,000 troops of the Celestial Empire have already entered the plains west of the Forest of No Return. They will attack East Peace City in a few days. Once they attack East Peace City, I'm afraid the imperial capital will be in danger. Sister Shang Qian, don't be so anxious. Si Kongyao comforted her. The dead cannot come back to life. Grandfather Zhang Cheng was a hero all his life. Perhaps staining the battlefield with his blood and killing the enemy is what he wanted. Perhaps. Shang Qian's eyes turned red. Yao, you are a citizen of the Tianji Empire. You are also the granddaughter of old sect master Sikong. The Tianji Empire is your motherland, your hometown. I beg you, you must send troops. Only by defeating the army of the Celestial Empire can you save your homeland and avenge my grandfather. I know. Si Kongyao bit her red lips. But sending troops is a serious matter. I still need to discuss it with the generals and commoners. This matter? Seeing her hesitation, King Lanji said anxiously, Miss Si Kongyao, you must send troops. You are the only hope of the Tianji Empire. If you don't send troops, I'm afraid the Tianji Empire will soon fall apart and become a meal for the Celestial Empire. Lu Bai raised his eyebrows. The Tianji Empire belongs to the Tianji Empire. The Baizhe mercenaries belong to the Baizhe mercenaries. We are not a family. I don't care if you are a meal or lunch meat. Whether the Tianji Empire is destroyed or not, what does it have to do with the Baizhe mercenaries? The Tianji Empire used 400,000 soldiers to attack the Broken Cauldron world, which made Lin Muyu miserable. Lu Bai regarded Lin Muyu as his brother. Naturally, he hated the Tianji Empire very much. As soon as Lu Bai spoke, the group of fierce captaincy said in unison, "That's right. Whether the Tianji Empire is destroyed or not, what does it have to do with us? You make it sound so nice, but when did the Tianji Empire treat Miss Si Kongyao well? Why don't we see the emperor conferring the title of duke to Miss Si Kongyao?" King Lanji's face was ashen, but he couldn't lose his temper. If he lost his temper here, he would die miserably. These 18 captaincy were not easy to deal with. Chapter 957. You really can't help us? Shang Qian looked at Si Kongyao with red eyes and said, "Why not?" Yao. Si Kongyao was very soft-hearted towards her best friend. She held Shang Qian's shoulder and said, "It's not that I can't help, but I still need to discuss with everyone. I don't have the final say in the Baizhe mercenary group. It's easy to say, but it's related to the future of the 180,000 people in the Baizhe mercenary group. I have to be cautious. Sister, don't worry. Give me some time, okay?" "Okay." Shang Qian slightly nodded. However, Lu Bai had already stood up. His face was full of determination. He said lightly, No discussion." Lu Bai. King Lanji pounded the table and stood up. "Are you the one who has the final say in the Baizhe mercenary group or Miss Si Kongyao? Don't be so aggressive. Don't forget, you are also a citizen of the West Mountain province of the Tianji Empire." "Really?" Lu Bai smiled faintly, "But I don't remember the empire giving me any favor. Everyone wants to beat me and look down on me. Tell me, why should I work for such a country?" "You what?" Lu Bai punched the table, making the tea set fly up. He said, "In the past 6 months we have been expanding. We have eliminated and merged more than 90% of the mercenary groups in the Blackstone Empire. We have also trained and eliminated inferior soldiers. What is it for? Is it to work for a noble like you?" As he spoke, the veins on Lu Bai's face bulged. He laughed and said, "Dream on. I am not your subject and you are not my master. When my fist is bigger than yours and I have more military power than yours, why would I not become the emperor and kneel to a despicable person like you?" King Lanji was so angry that her whole body was trembling, but she couldn't say anything. Si Kongyao said faintly, "Lu Bai, speak less. What if you make Her Highness King Lanji angry?" Lu Bai respectfully took a step back and knelt on one knee. His right fist naturally landed on the ground. He saluted and said, "Yes, I understand." Shang Qian was stunned. However, King Lanji's eyes shone brightly. He could see that Liu Bai's salute wasn't the salute of the celestial pole continent, but the standard military salute of the Shattered Cauldron realm. Moreover, along the way he also discovered that the etiquette followed by the Baizé mercenaries was basically the same as the Qin Empire's army. You? King Lanji's face turned ashen as he said, "You are from the Shattered Cauldron realm? Are you Lin Muyu's people?" Liu Bai smiled and nodded, "Yes, we are Qin Emperor Lin Muyu's people. We held it in for half a year and didn't say it out. Now I suddenly feel so carefree." Si Kongyao raised the corner of her mouth. "Liu Bai, you talk too much." King Lanji retreated several steps, his face a little pale. Why? Why even Miss Si Kongyao betrayed the motherland? What? Did I betray the motherland? Si Kongyao asked back with a smile. Your Highness, did I kill an innocent citizen of the Qinji Empire? Did I invade an inch of the Qinji Empire's land? I just established an army in the Blackstone Empire with my own ability. How can you say that I betrayed the country? Just now, I was thinking about using my people to reinforce the Qinji Empire. How can you say that I, Si Kongyao, betrayed the country? King Lanji was an influential figure in the imperial palace, but at this moment he didn't know what he was talking about. Si Kongyao pursed her red lips and said, "Actually, the Qinji Empire is my homeland. I cannot save it. However, not all of the 180,000 people under my command are from the Qinji Empire. I can't let them sacrifice their lives to fight in vain. So, for the sake of Sister Shangqian's face, I agree to send troops." Really? Shangqian was overjoyed. King Lanji was also stunned. "Miss, are you serious?" "Yes, but don't worry. I have conditions." "What conditions? Please tell me." Si Kongyao moved her red lips. Her pair of intelligent eyes were full of moving expression. She smiled and said, "First of all, if I send 180,000 Baizé mercenaries to the north to reinforce the country, the Blackstone Empire will definitely make a move. They have long held a grudge against the Baizé mercenaries. Once the Baizé mercenaries leave the northern pass, they will definitely seal the door and won't let the Baizé mercenaries come back. So this also means, the Baizé mercenaries are walking on a road of no return. The Baizé mercenaries have 7 big cities in the territory of the Blackstone Empire and collect taxes on their own. But once we go to the north, what will we get?" King Lanji muttered to himself. His heart felt a bit cold. After not seeing her for 3 years, Si Kongyao was no longer that beautiful girl who only knew how to cultivate and fight. The current Si Kongyao not only had unfathomable strength, but her wisdom was also not the same as before. He frowned and said, "Before this king left, His Majesty had already given me some authority to make decisions. If young miss has anything to say, please speak frankly." "Okay." Si Kongyao smiled knowingly and said, "In fact, it's very simple. Once the Baizé mercenaries enter the territory of the Qinji Empire, I need a place to stand. I don't want to become the target of public criticism after the war. As the saying goes, once the cunning hare is killed, the hound will be cooked." "My meaning?" King Lanji should understand very well. "I understand." King Lanji pondered for a while and said, "Miss, the route of your army must be going out of the northern pass and passing through the West Mountain province. Then they will attack the army of the Celestial Empire in the East Peace province. I can decide on behalf of His Majesty to divide the 7 states and counties in the south of the West Mountain province to the Baizé mercenaries. You can station in the cities. The local prefectures will also directly hand over the collected taxes to Miss, so as to supply the Baizé mercenaries. Only 7 states and counties?" Si Kongyao couldn't help but laugh. "Your Highness, with all due respect, the Baizé mercenaries have a total of 180,000 people. Half of them are cavalrymen. If each person is equipped with 2 blades, there will be a total of 360,000 weapons and 360,000 sets of armor. Even if there are at least 100,000 grooms, I'm afraid that a trifling 7 states and counties can't support such a huge army. Your Highness, don't forget that we are mercenaries. The reason why we could survive in the Blackstone Empire was because we plundered everywhere. Does your Highness want us to plunder everywhere in the Qinji Empire? Even 7 states and counties can't do it? Then, how much does eldest miss want?" King Lanji's eyes sparkled. Si Kongyao nodded and smiled shyly. "Actually, Shiping City, the capital of the Xishan province, is also one of the famous cities in the continent. It has abundant taxes and a strong city. If your Highness doesn't mind, Yao is willing to guard Shiping City for the Empire." "What?" King Lanji was shocked. "The Baizé mercenaries want Shiping City? What? Can't we?" Liu Bai raised his eyebrows and said. The 18 captaincy held a meeting and stood up together. What? You can't even do it, yet you still want us to send troops and sell our lives for you? Under the great power, King Lanji's imposing manner suddenly weakened. He gradually understood that ever since he and Shang Qian had stepped into the general's mansion, they had fallen into a trap. Liu Bai and Si Kongyao were obviously performing a two-man show, and he only realized it now, but it was too late. Si Kongyao's smile was very sweet. She said, Your Highness, you can decide on your own. However, Yao wants to remind you that if you grant me Shiping City, the Tianji Empire might get peace. But if you don't grant me Shiping City, the Tianji Empire won't just lose Shiping City. Perhaps Dongning City, Huiyuan City, Tianji City, will soon become Qin Yu's temporary imperial residence. King Lanji took a deep breath and said with a deathly pale face, Let me think about it. After all, Shiping City is a provincial capital. It's not something that I, a small left prince, can decide. Maybe I need to report to His Majesty and get His Majesty's approval. Si Kongyao smiled faintly and said, That's good. We will wait for your Highness's reply at the Devil's Palm Peaks. But I don't know if Dongning City can withstand the attack of Qin Yu's army. Even if they spur their horses at full speed, it will take more than 10 days for your Highness to come and go from Tianji City. Please think twice. King Lanji became silent and sat there dejectedly. After a long while, he raised his head and said, I have the royal order given by His Majesty. I can decide on my own. If Miss Si Kongyao wants it, I will grant you Shiping City and the 7 southern prefectures and counties of Xishan Province as your fief. That won't do. Si Kongyao stretched her arms lazily and said, There are 7 southern prefectures and counties of Shiping City and 7 northern prefectures and counties. My soldiers are used to plundering. Once I can't control my hands and feet and attack the 7 northern prefectures and counties, won't it be like my own people attacking my own people? In my opinion, Your Highness might as well reward me with the 7 northern prefectures and counties. King Lanji trembled all over and said, You want the entire territory of Xishan Province? Is there a problem? Si Kongyao's beautiful eyes turned cold. Suddenly, her momentum surged and she had the feeling of a monarch descending to the world. King Lanji's voice trembled. No, if I give you all the fief, I'm afraid His Majesty will punish me. If you don't agree, then forget it. Si Kongyao crossed her arms and put her slender legs on the table. She said, Anyway, it's not bad for a mercenary like Bai Zhe to be a mercenary king here. I can eat and drink well and loot the treasuries of government offices everywhere. Even the Dog Emperor of the Blackstone Empire won't dare to provoke me. Shang Qian saw that the situation was a little stiff and said, Your Highness, in my opinion, Yao wants Xishan Province as her fief. Then you should reward it to her. At the same time, you can also confer the title of Xishan Princess to Yao. Anyway, Yao is a citizen of the empire. Why can't she rule Xishan Province? In this way you can also justify yourself in front of His Majesty. King Lanji's heart brightened. He said, That's right. I don't know if Miss Si Kongyao is willing to accept the title of Xishan Princess. I don't care. Si Kongyao smiled lazily and said, But I have a condition. Although Tianji Empire will give me the title of Xishan Princess, I won't serve the emperor. My army will still be controlled by me. In addition, I won't pay money and grain to the imperial capital for my fief. All the officials will be enfeoffed by me. You are? King Lanji felt a chill in the bottom of his heart. Miss Si Kongyao, are you going to divide your territory and confer the title of king? Yes, that's right. Si Kongyao admitted frankly, I just want to have my own territory, and I will no longer obey the rule of any emperor. However, if you make me the commandery princess of Shiping, then I will still be nominally a citizen of the Tianji Empire. At least King Lanji will be able to convince Baiming Yuan. Deceiving the superiors and the subordinates is what you people are good at, isn't it? In short, whether you want Xishan Province or the whole Tianji Empire, it's up to you. I won't interfere with your decision. Everyone was silent. After the time it took for half an incense stick to burn, King Lanji said faintly, I will send a letter back to Tianji City to ask for a decree. The wolf falcon flies fast. It will only take 3 days to go back and forth. Miss Si Kongyao, please wait for the conferment. Good. Si Kongyao was complacent. She smiled knowingly with Liu Bai and others. Chapter 958. Late at night, the cold moon hung high in the sky. In the small courtyard, Si Kongyao was dressed in military attire. She held a silver wine pot in her left hand and a golden cup in her right. She sat alone on the railing of the small courtyard and drank alone. As the wine entered her heart, there was a hint of helplessness in her beautiful eyes. She said, "I wonder how Big Brother Yu is doing? If we really go to the northern region to fight, neither I nor Lu Bai will be able to strategize. How should we fight this war?" The cold moon did not respond. Si Kongyao drank another cup of wine and muttered, "I don't know what grandfather is thinking. Since the empire is being attacked by Chen Yu's army, the Tianji sect should also participate in the war, right? If I bring the Bai Zhe mercenaries to participate in the war and fight side by side with him, will grandfather forgive me for leaving home for so long?" She laughed self-deprecatingly. "Forget it, grandfather doesn't want to care about me anyway. I'll just live my own life. I just don't know how Big Brother Yu is doing." A howling cold wind came from the sky. Si Kongyao seemed to feel a little cold and couldn't help but tighten her clothes. She looked at the sky with a slight frown and said, "The news should have come back by now." At this moment, the power of the laws in the surroundings suddenly surged. Drops of light condensed in front of Si Kongyao and finally turned into a ray of light that fell to the ground and condensed into a human figure. It was Lin Muyu. It was the oracle's spiritual sense. "Big Brother Yu." Si Kongyao was overjoyed and said with a smile, "You finally took the initiative to contact me, Yao." Lin Muyu looked at Si Kongyao's lovely appearance and said with a smile, "Long time no see, Yao. The war in the Shattered Cauldron realm is endless, so I can't divide my divine power to see you. Now that things have just stabilized, I haven't received any news about the Bai Zhe mercenaries for many days. How is it?" Si Kongyao pursed her red lips and shook her head. "It's not good. 1,000,000 troops of the Celestial Empire attacked the eastern camp of the Tianji Empire. The Yanji army was defeated and even General Zhang Qing died in battle." "What? Shang Qin's grandfather died in battle?" "Yes." Si Kongyao nodded and said, "Now that the Tianji Empire has no generals to use, they are retreating step by step. Chen Yu's 1,000,000 troops will soon conquer the East Com province. At that time, the Tianji city will be directly under the enemy's vanguard and there will be no turning back. Yesterday, Big Sister Shang Qian and King Lan Ji came to our Demon Palm Prefecture and asked Bai Zhe mercenaries to send reinforcements to the Tianji Empire. Big Brother Yu, what do you think?" "I've already agreed. There's no problem with sending troops." Lin Muyu looked at Si Kongyao with torch-like eyes and said, "I also don't want the Tianji Empire to be destroyed so quickly. Once Chen Yu devours the Tianji Empire with his appetite, he will immediately destroy the Blackstone Empire within 3 months. At that time, the Celestial Pole continent will be unified. This emperor will want more meritorious service and will naturally attack the Shattered Cauldron realm. For the time being, the Shattered Cauldron realm still needs time and can't continue to participate in the war. However, Yao, do you have any conditions for agreeing to send troops to King Lanji just like that?" "Of course there are." Si Kongyao burst into laughter and said, "I've already asked the Tianji Empire to confer me the title of Shiping Princess. Then I'll bestow the entire Xishan province, including Shiping City, to the Bai Zhe mercenaries as the resting place for the 180,000 troops of the Bai Zhe mercenaries. They can also continuously provide us with ordnance and provisions. What do you think, Elder Brother Yu?" Lin Muyu smiled happily and said, "Yes, that's right. The Bai Zhe mercenaries will only be useful when they have their own cities. You have to take advantage of this heaven-sent opportunity to expand without restraint. What we want is not just the Xishan province. Once we've defeated the army of the Celestial Empire, we'll take advantage of this opportunity to conquer the south in the name of mercenaries and plunder the land of the Blackstone Empire." "I know, but Yao is now facing a huge problem." "Oh? What problem? Tell me." "I lack a commander with both wisdom and courage like Elder Brother Yu." Si Kongyao blinked her eyes and said, "Lu Bai and our generals have almost never experienced a real war. They only know how to talk on paper. Once a war breaks out, who will we rely on to command the overall situation? You have to know that Qin Yu has 900,000 troops and more than 300 dragon knights. If the 180,000 Bai Zhe mercenaries directly participate in the war, they'll just be throwing their lives away." "Oh," Lin Muyu muttered to herself and thought for a long time before saying, "It seems that I'll have to go to the Celestial Pole continent for the second time. Yao, when will you leave?" "I'll come over after dealing with the matters in the Shattered Cauldron realm. If the Emperor of the Tianji Empire allows it, the Bai Zhe mercenaries will leave in 2 days and reach Shiping City in 5 days. Then wait for me at the City Lord's residence in Shiping City in 5 days. I'll be there on time." "Okay, I'll wait for you." Si Kongyao giggled. I haven't seen you in a long time. I miss you. Lin Muyu was stunned. Si Kongyao immediately smiled knowingly and said, I know that elder brother you already has Her Highness Qinin, but as your younger sister, it shouldn't be too much for Yao to miss you, right? Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. It's not too much. I miss you too. Let's meet in 5 days. Alright, I have to go. I've used up a lot of my divine power and can't hold on any longer. Okay, elder brother you, see you in 5 days. After ending the conversation with the oracle, Lin Muyu was already drenched in sweat. The distance from Lanyan City to the Devil's Palm Prefecture was more than 10,000 miles. Moreover, she had never used spiritual thoughts to communicate for such a long time. She had used up at least 30% of her divine power. Even though Lin Muyu's cultivation had reached the 53rd level of Grotto Heaven, it was still very difficult. How's it going with the Bai Zhe mercenaries? Qinin, who was lying quietly beside Lin Muyu, opened her blazing dawn eyes a little. It's not a big deal. The Celestial Empire and the Tianji Empire have started a war. The Tianji Empire is no match for them, so they sent King Lanji to ask for help from Si Kongyao, asking for 180,000 Bai Zhe mercenaries to help. However, no one on Yao's side is good at commanding, so I might have to go to the Celestial Pole continent. Ah. On the other side, Tang Xiaoxi, who was holding Lin Muyu's left hand tightly, was a little surprised. You want to go to the Celestial Pole continent? Yes, Xiaoxi, your internal injuries are almost healed. I need to go there. After all, I left Si Kongyao and Lu Bai there, so I have to be responsible for them. Moreover, the Bai Zhe mercenaries are very important to the Empire. They are an important chess piece for us to counterattack the Celestial Pole continent, which is equivalent to our advance army. Isn't it too dangerous? Qin blinked her eyes and said, the people from the Celestial Empire and the Tianji Empire are not easy to deal with. Xikong Ming, Han Yuan, Longxi and the others are all consummate god emperors above the 90th level of Grotto Heaven. Once elder brother Yu is targeted by them, I'm afraid you will be in danger. It's better. Xiaoxi and I go with you. If we go together it will be more dangerous. There will be no one in Lanyan City. Aren't General Feng and I Yan there? Qin explained, besides all the major events in the country are basically decided by the Congress. Military affairs can wait for you to come back. I talked with Uncle Qin Shao for a long time yesterday afternoon. He revealed his true feelings and doesn't want to be controlled by the feudal princes of the Congress. So even if I'm not in Lanyan City, nothing will happen. On the contrary, it's too dangerous for you to go to the Celestial Pole continent alone. Isn't it better for me and Xiaoxi to go with you? Tang Xiaoxi also smiled faintly and said, that's right. Didn't we agree that the three of us will not be separated in the future? It's fine if we don't separate. Lin Muyu was a little helpless. We'll leave in 3 days. We'll go to the Tongtian Gorge to see the potato garden planted by Lulu first. Then we'll fly to the Celestial Pole continent to meet Si Kongyao and Lu Bai. Well, that's for the best. I'll also explain the matters in the court. Shengguan Jingyue will handle the small matters for me. What about Terralin and the others? They're in closed-door training and won't come out for 2 or 3 months. I'm thinking that when the time is right, I'll send them back to the Western Divine Realm. After all, that's where they belong. It's just that I can't sense Sister Hyan's aura recently. Qin frowned and said, I don't know what happened in the Western Divine Realm. Lin Muyu held her shoulders and said, don't worry, Xiaoyin. Xiyan is a seraph and a great perfection divine emperor of 99 heavens, a legendary seraph. She will be fine. At least no one in East Heaven can kill her. Those who can kill her won't unless it's ruler Claude, but Claude won't. Who will cut off their own arms. Yeah. Lin Muyu's words made Qin feel a bit more at ease. She raised her head and looked at Lin Muyu saying, Big brother Yu, after we unify the world, we must go to the Western Divine Realm to look for Sister Hyan. I owe her too much. I also owe her a favor. Lin Muyu nodded and said, she sent you back. Otherwise, I'm afraid I won't be able to see you again. Yeah. 2 days later, a wolf falcon landed in the county city of Demon Palm Prefecture. After a long time, King Lanji respectfully held an imperial edict and went to the general's mansion. Meanwhile, Shang Qian and a group of attendants looked solemn. Seeing the imperial edict was like seeing the martial Saint Emperor Bai Mingyuan. They had to be respectful, even if they had to pretend. Si Kongyao receives the imperial edict. King Lanji's voice became much louder. Inside the general's mansion, Si Kongyao, Lu Bai, and the others naturally knew what had happened. They all knelt down. King Lanji said in a clear voice, The emperor decrees that Si Kongyao is conferred the title of Shiping Commandery Princess and Xishan Province's chief executive. She will be in charge of all the troops in Xishan Province, as well as all the land, taxes, and treasuries in Xishan Province. At the same time, Bai Zai's mercenaries are conferred the title of National Defense Army. Si Kongyao is ordered to immediately lead the National Defense Army to Shiping City to rest and reorganize. In a few days they will set off to the north to assist East Com City. Si Kongyao lowered her head, raised her hand and said, "I." Si Kongyao receives the imperial edict. King Lan Ji handed the imperial edict to Si Kongyao and said with a smile, "Miss Si Kong, from now on we are colleagues. You are a commandery king. I hope we can work together to defeat the strong enemy." Of course. Si Kongyao glanced at the imperial edict and said, "But why is the Bai Zai's mercenaries called the National Defense Army? I have never agreed to this." So, the flag of the Bai Zai's mercenaries is still the Bai Zai's mercenaries. It will never be changed. Miss, don't worry. His Majesty won't pursue this detail. As long as you can send troops, it will be fine. Saying this, King Lan Ji seemed to be a little anxious and said, "When shall we leave?" Si Kongyao smiled faintly and said, "The 3 armies are ready. We will leave in the afternoon." "Good, that's great." Chapter 959. On the 29th of November, the weather became colder and colder. Winter had officially arrived. The entire Tongtian Gorge was covered in snow, and the entire gorge seemed to be frozen. Accompanied by the sound of falling snow, 3 figures landed on a piece of fertile land. It was Lin Muyu, Qinin, and Tang Xiaoxi. Not far away, a few high-level demons dressed in the Empire's military uniform shouted in unison, "Who is it?" "It's me." Lin Muyu turned around, and the 4-star insignia on her neck shone brightly. The group of demons all bowed respectfully. Qian Feng, the governor of 8 Desolate Province, was only a 3-star, but this person in front of them was actually a 4-star. His identity was obvious. "So it's Lin General." "Greetings, Lin General." A Chiliarch said respectfully, and then his gaze fell on the 2 beauties beside Lin Muyu. "Oh, they are Royal Highness Yin and Princess Shi." "Ah." The Chiliarch knelt for the 2nd time. This subordinate has eyes but failed to see. "Greetings, Royal Highness Yin and Princess Shi." "Where's Marshal Qianfeng?" Qinin asked. "This subordinate will inform the marshal immediately." The horse disappeared into the snow. Not long after, Qianfeng's figure broke through the air, and he smiled respectfully. "You're here?" "Yes." "Show us the plantation, Marshal Qianfeng." Qinin smiled. "Yes, Your Highness, this way please." The 4 of them flew close to the ground. The water in the ditch had already frozen, but the water underneath was still rapid. After crossing the river, there was an entire plantation in front of them. It was all plastic sheds, and the sheds were about a meter high. Even if humans bent their bodies, it would be difficult for them to squeeze in. However, it was different for the worker ants. They could come and go as they pleased. Opening one of the sheds, Lin Muyu looked down and saw that the potato germs inside were about 20 centimeters high. They were lush, and she couldn't help but smile. "Xiaoyin, Xiaoxi, look, there are results." Qinin and Tang Xiaoxi, one on the left and one on the right, nestled in his arms. They looked down at the sheds and immediately smiled. Although they were just seedlings, it meant that they could provide a very large amount of food resources for the empire. At least, the 3 armies would no longer have to fight on empty stomachs. In Lin Muyu's eyes, these potatoes would be the strongest guarantee for the counterattack on the celestial pole continent. But, it's snowing so heavily now, can they still survive? Tang Xiaoxi's heart ached as she sealed the entrance of the shed, for fear that these seedlings would freeze to death. Lin Muyu said, "Didn't you see the worker ants in the shed? They are responsible for maintaining the temperature and moisture, and even if it snows, it can't keep snowing. When the snow stops and the sky clears up, the worker ants will naturally sweep away the snow and let the sun shine in. As long as there is enough sunlight and moisture, they can produce a lot of potatoes no matter how cold it is." "That's really great." Tang Xiaoxi stood up straight, looked at the endless plantation in the distance and said, "So many, of course." Lin Muyu said proudly, "A total of 200 li of fertile land. Marshal Qianfeng, can you calculate for Xiaoxi how much food can be harvested from this 200 li of land in a season?" Qianfeng was stunned and said, "Lin General, this subordinate is not a farmer. How would I know these things?" On the other hand, Qinin smiled and said, "Although it's 200 li, there are many mountains and rivers, and the area of the plantation is about 8,000 hectares. 1 hectare is 100 mu, and if 1 mu is 200 caddies of output, then 8,000 hectares of land in a season will produce 16 million caddies of output. According to the Empire's rations calculation, 100 caddies is equivalent to 1 dan of military rations. 1 season can produce 1.6 million dan of military rations, which is about enough for 800,000 soldiers to eat for a month. Wow, Xiaoyin is so amazing. Tang Xiaoxi's mouth was wide open. She knew that she did not have this kind of calculation ability. Lin Muyu frowned and said, "It seems, it's still too little. 1 season of potato planting will take at least 2 months, and the plantation here can only provide food for 400,000 soldiers. Our empire's regular army, not including the imperial army, has 500,000 soldiers. Moreover, after the war, the number of refugees increased dramatically, and all the treasuries have to allocate food to help the refugees, but it's still not enough. Marshal Qianfeng. This subordinate is here, Lin General, please give your orders. Discuss with Lulu again and send more worker ants to cultivate and plant on the plains of Tongtian province, the more the better." "Yes." Qianfeng nodded and said, "But Lin General, you can't be too optimistic because the plantation needs a large amount of plastic and there isn't much of it. Lulu said that it's almost used up, and if you want new ones you'll need time to make them." "I know, just do your best." "Yes." Qianfeng nodded with a smile and said, "The taste of potatoes is incomparably delicious, why don't Lin General, Her Highness Yin and Princess Shi eat here today, and this subordinate will arrange a pot of potato meat soup, how about it?" "All right, I also asked the marshal to arrange a place for us to stay. We'll stay for the night and leave tomorrow." "Yes, understood." At night, the cold wind was biting cold, and Qianfeng ordered people to set up a huge tent at the edge of the plantation. Although it was cold outside, a fire was lit in the tent, and a large pot of soup was cooked. Moreover, it was Qianfeng who personally cooked the soup. There were potato pieces, fish, venison, vegetables, and many others in the pot, and there was also a lot of chili and pepper, which made Lin Muyu secretly sigh. Qianfeng was also a master of Sichuan hot pot, and if he stepped into the God Emperor realm and traveled to Earth, wouldn't it be terrible? Once this fellow went to Qingdu, wouldn't he be able to make a name for himself? The soup in the pot was gurgling, and Qianfeng dismissed the people on his left and right. There were only 4 people in the tent, plus 2 high-level demon girls who were scouts. Lin Muyu was a little surprised. "I didn't expect. There were actually high-level female demons in the demon race. I've only seen Her Highness Ning-er and Her Highness Jing-er before." Qianfeng smiled awkwardly and said, "Most of the god race women's physiques aren't suitable for cultivating demonic arts, so if they aren't the descendants of famous families, most of them will be reduced to maids or concubines of others." Lin Muyu nodded. The farming and weaving of the Central Plains has now been introduced to the Sky Gorge. "Marshal Qianfeng, why don't you give them proper jobs and let them earn their own living so that they won't always be attached to men and lose the social status they deserve?" "Social status?" Qianfeng was surprised. Lin Muyu smiled and said, "In my hometown the status of men and women has always been equal, and even, cough cough, women are a level higher, and you can't even bare your teeth when they get angry at you." At the side, Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi burst into laughter. Qianfeng said, "There's really such a thing?" "Yes, all living beings are equal, there's nothing we can do." Qianfeng immediately cupped his fists and said, "This subordinate understands and will carry out this policy. As long as the people of the god race can live a peaceful and quiet life, even if I, Qianfeng, die, I will still be able to answer to His Majesty the late Emperor Jing and Ning." A purple-eyed demon maid at the side pursed her red lips and suddenly said cautiously, "Your Highness Yin, Lin General, can this little girl say something?" "Yes." Qin nodded. Lin Muyu said cheerfully, "Just say it, Mississippi Marshal Qianfeng is also here, anyone can make a decision for you." The girl said, "As Lin General said, it would be good if men and women could be equal. My 3 sisters are all married to the same person. He is a lord of the Sky Gorge and he has a violent temperament. It's a pity that my sisters are whipped every day. Each of them is covered with cuts and bruises, but they have no way to seek justice. In our god race, the status of women has always been like this. I hope that a word from Your Highness Yin and Lin General can change everything." Lin Muyu looked deeply at Qianfeng and said, "Is it true?" Qianfeng blushed with shame. "Yes, the god race has always been like this. The Shattered Cauldron realm can't keep fighting. Marshal Qianfeng, you must send people to the Middle Earth to learn farming and weaving techniques. Otherwise, I'm afraid that the women of the devil race will never be able to change their fates. In addition, Set up an official in the 8 Desolates province, enforce the constitution and govern the province according to the law. This will save you a lot of trouble, and the unfairness in the 8 Desolates province will be greatly reduced. Just like what happened to this girl's elder sisters, according to the law, the man who whipped his wife should receive 100 lashes. Qian Feng nodded. Yes, I understand. Please rest assured, Lin General and Your Highness, I will do as you say. That's good. The girl at the side bowed deeply. Thank you, Lin General. You're welcome. The soup is ready. Qian Feng smiled. Come, serve it to Your Highness Yin and Princess Shi. Here I have prepared a jar of good wine. Let's not go home until we're drunk. Lin Muyu was grateful for Qian Feng's trust in her. If it wasn't for the delay of the Tongtian Gorge, the Tianji Empire would have conquered Tianshu Province and Sangnan Province long ago. Every factor in this war was very important, and Qian Feng was one of the important factors. As the wine entered his heart, Qian Feng's expression was no longer as carefree as before. Instead, it was more painful. He held his sword and said, The war destroyed our past and my home. Originally, I thought that the god race could become the ruler of the mainland again, but I didn't expect to meet such a strong enemy like Lin General. Lin Muyu smiled. The demon race was indeed unstoppable. If it wasn't for Xiling developing the magic crystal cannon, I'm afraid you would have won. Marshal Qian Feng, have you forgotten that you said you would marry Xiao Yin after defeating the empire? Qian Feng's face turned red. I was really stupid and frivolous at that time. Please don't take it to heart, Your Highness Yin. Qin Yin smiled gracefully. Marshal Qian Feng, you don't have to worry about it. I've already forgotten about it. There is only one person in Xiao Yin's heart, and there is only one person Xiao Yin wants to marry. That is my brother Yu. Her voice was soft, but it was very powerful. Lin Muyu held her little hand and said, Marry, marry, marry. When I return to my hometown and bring you to see my father, I will marry you. Tang Xiaoxi looked at her quietly. Although Lin Muyu was drunk, she was not completely drunk. She hurriedly said, And Xiaoxi, marry them together. Tang Xiaoxi's cloudy mood turned into a sunny one. Lin Muyu didn't dare to be careless again. Last time, the 2 goddess-like beauties got jealous and pierced through half of the sky of the empire. That was why there were 5 years of 3 kings rule. This time she must handle it well. Qian Feng sat at the side enviously and continued to drink. But he was afraid that when the wine entered his heart, it would only make him more depressed. In one's life there will always be obstacles. Some people can get over it, but some people can't get over it for the rest of their lives. But if you get over it, why do you have to get over it? It's better to have someone living in your heart than to be alone. Chapter 960. In the blink of an eye, December arrived. The weather was getting colder and colder. Most of the 12 provinces in the Shattered Cauldron realm were covered in heavy snow. The Celestial Pole continent, which was connected to the Shattered Cauldron realm, was also covered in heavy snow. Shiping City was one of the famous cities of the Tianji Empire. It was rich in resources and had a sturdy city. However, Shiping City seemed to be empty at the moment. All the guards had been transferred away, leaving behind only a group of old and weak soldiers. Even the soldiers guarding the city gates were old men wrapped in cotton clothes. At a glance, one could tell that they were at least 50 years old. If they were in the Shattered Cauldron realm, such people would have long retired. Amidst the curtain of snow, 3 silhouettes meandered over. The man walking in front was wearing a black cloak, but the hood of the cloak had already been flipped down. His handsome short hair was covered with a lot of snow, and under his sword-like eyebrows, his eyes shone with a penetrating light. That was not a gaze that was harmless to humans and animals, but a gaze of wisdom that could see through everything in the world. Behind the young man were 2 women dressed in civilian clothes. Although they were simple and plain, they couldn't hide their stunning beauty. When the 3 of them arrived at the city gates, several seasoned guards couldn't help but take a few more glances at them. Kid, where are you going? A seasoned soldier walked forward with a saber in his hand. He looked up and saw the hilt of a sword protruding from the back of Lin Muyu's cloak. It was obviously a sword, and a good one at that. Lin Muyu said respectfully, Sir, I come from Bailey County in the south. I came to Shiping City to visit my relatives. My father is an accountant in this city's Chamber of Commerce. Oh, what Chamber of Commerce? The seasoned soldier asked. Lin Muyu answered without hesitation, the Pingjin Chamber of Commerce. Fortunately, they had made thorough preparations before they came. The Pingjin Chamber of Commerce isn't a small chamber of commerce. Your father must be a well-known figure in the city. The seasoned soldier glanced at Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi behind Lin Muyu and asked, "What about these two?" Lin Muyu was about to say that they were two concubines, but unexpectedly, Tang Xiaoxi smiled and answered, "We are his cousins." The veteran carefully looked at Qin Yin's stunning appearance. Although her head was covered by a cloak, she was still stunning. The veteran frowned and said, "Why are her eyes closed?" Lin Muyu hurriedly explained, "My cousin suffered from an eye disease 2 years ago, and she can't open her eyes anymore. So this time I came to find my father to ask for a coin to treat my cousin's eye disease. When her eye disease is cured we can get married." The veteran couldn't help but laugh. "Young man, you're so lucky. These two cousins are both stunning beauties. It really makes one jealous. Go in. Be careful, the empire is at war. Recently there have been many bandits harassing the people around Shiping City. After you get the money, hire a few people from the dojo before you go back." "Yes, thank you for your concern, sir." Lin Muyu held Qin Yin's hand and led her and Tang Xiaoxi into the city. They passed through safely. It seemed that the security in Shiping City was no longer as strict as before. It was no wonder that the Tianji Empire was at war. They had used almost all of their power to fight the Celestial Empire in East Com Province. The security in Shiping City was definitely not as good as before. After entering the city, they asked around and found out that Si Kongyao's army had not arrived yet. However, it seemed that the outpost had already reached Shiping City in the morning. It was unknown when Si Kongyao and Lu Bai would arrive. It was Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi's first time in a foreign land, so they were very curious. It was already dark when they checked into the inn. Lin Muyu borrowed 2 umbrellas and brought the 2 cousins, to enjoy the night view of Shiping City. Shiping City was rich and prosperous. After nightfall it became even more prosperous. Although it was snowing heavily, red lanterns were lit in front of the shops. Restaurants, brothels, casinos, chambers of commerce and gold shops were all open for business. There were many restaurants. Their noses were filled with the aroma of wine and food. It was hard to resist. Lin Muyu held an umbrella for Qin Yin. She put her arm around her shoulder and walked in the snow with her. She said, "We've been flying for 2 days and stayed on the island in the East Sea for a long time. We haven't had a good meal yet. Why don't we rush to enjoy the night view? Let's fill our stomachs first. I think the restaurants here are pretty good." Qin Yin nodded and smiled. "I'll listen to brother you." Tang Xiaoxi pointed to a nearby restaurant with a red signboard. There's a restaurant called 1,000 Fragrances. Why don't we go there? That's a brothel, not a restaurant. Doesn't the name have the word fragrant? Yes, that's why it's a brothel. Tang Xiaoxi could not help but blush. Why would I think of that? Lin Muyu held back her laughter. Let's go to the restaurant opposite 1,000 Fragrances. After they entered the restaurant, the waiter immediately welcomed them. He took the umbrella and smiled enthusiastically. "Young master, ladies, would you like to eat and drink? Please arrange a table with a good view. Sorry for the trouble." "All right, please follow me." Upstairs, the table was located on the side of the street. What was rare was that the window was carved out of crystal. It was as transparent as glass, allowing one to have a panoramic view of the street outside while maintaining the warmth inside. There were 2 heaters placed beside the table, which was very thoughtful. Lin Muyu glanced at the menu and was stunned. It was really expensive. A dish of stewed bear paw cost 120 gold coins. In the Celestial Pole, bears were not protected animals, so how could they be so expensive? It seemed like this place was the same as Shattered Cauldron Realm. After the war, inflation had caused gold to become less valuable. However, the Empress and Marshal of Shattered Cauldron Realm obviously did not lack money. They filled the table with dishes that they liked and then ate slowly. They were waiting for Si Kongyao and Lu Bai anyway, so there was no hurry. Lin Muyu warmed some wine and poured some for Qin Yin. Then she picked some food for her. Qin Yin could not open her eyes, nor could she attract other people's attention. Therefore Lin Muyu took very good care of her, almost making Tang Xiaoxi jealous. Some merchants and young masters who were eating at the side naturally looked over and were attracted by the beauty of Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi. It was very rare to see beauties of this level in the Celestial Pole continent. As they were eating, a young master wearing a golden brocade robe suddenly walked over. He waved the fan inlaid with purple crystals in his hand, and 2 servants immediately moved a chair over. After the young master sat down, his eyes kept staring at Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi. He felt that he liked both of them and felt very uncomfortable. "What are you doing?" Lin Muyu suddenly looked at him and felt that it was a little troublesome to have another person at the table. The young master said, I am happy to sit here. What can you do to me? Lin Muyu frowned. Are you looking for trouble? The young master laughed loudly. That's right, I am looking for trouble. What can you do to me? Lin Muyu used her chopsticks to pick up a piece of pork rib and carefully placed it on Qin Yin's plate. She said gently, eat more. Qin Yin smiled and nodded. Okay. The young master could no longer stand Lin Muyu's indifference. He stood up and said, Brat, are you blind? Can't you see that I am here? So what? Lin Muyu said plainly. The young master slammed his fan on the table and said, Forgive me for being blunt, but you are not fit to sit with these two ladies. If you know what's good for you, get out of here. I will treat them to this meal. She had seen too many people like this in this plane. Lin Muyu said, If I am not wrong, this young master is the son or grandson of the city lord or governor of Shiping City? Otherwise he would not be so arrogant. The young master's face was cold. What nonsense are you spouting? I am Jing Nan, the nephew of the governor of Shiping City, Jing Shou. Brat, you are so arrogant. Do you know that half of the 3,000 soldiers guarding Shiping City are my men? I don't know. I'm not interested in you. Get out of here, Lin Muyu said plainly. How dare you? Jing Nan was furious. He grabbed his fan and whipped it at Lin Muyu's face. This fan was made of metal. Once it hit, it would definitely leave a scar. Jing Nan felt that his looks were not bad, but compared to the brat in front of him, he was much softer. In a moment of jealousy, he only wanted to smash Lin Muyu's face before anything else. Before the fan could even touch Lin Muyu's face, it was bounced off. A golden light flashed. It was the god's wall. Jing Nan immediately bled from the impact. His face was ashen as he retreated. He shouted, This brat is a tough nut to crack. Attack him together and kill him. I will take responsibility for any trouble. Immediately, the 7 or 8 people who had been eating stood up, drew their weapons and rushed over. It seemed that they were Jing Nan's guards. I did not expect this group of ruffians to disrupt our meal. Lin Muyu frowned. Tang Xiaoxi lowered her head and desperately ate a bare paw. She raised her head and stared at Lin Muyu with her bright eyes. Obviously, she was saying that this group of ruffians did not affect her mood to eat. Lin Muyu smiled helplessly. Xiaoxi, this foodie really could not do anything about her. Qin Yin, who was at the side, whispered, Brother Yu, we agreed to secretly assist Si Kongyao this time. So don't kill them. Just teach them a lesson. Lin Muyu stood up and grabbed the Shen Yuan sword. Without unsheathing it, her figure flashed past. The hilt of the sword heavily hit the abdomen of a guard, sending him flying. Then she lifted her foot and kicked another guard. Her movements were smooth and smooth. Within 5 seconds, the group of people were all lying on the ground begging for mercy. Lin Muyu did not even use her supreme divine power or Do Qi. She only used her strong physique to deal with this group of mortals. Just you wait. Jing Nan's face was swollen, but his eyes were full of resentment. Don't leave if you have the guts. Wait for me to call for reinforcements. Stop. Lin Muyu said coldly. What do you want? Didn't you say that you want to treat these two ladies to a meal? Waiter, this young master Jing Nan wants to pay for us. You know what to do. The waiter looked at Jing Nan blankly. Jing Nan gritted his teeth. Put it on my bill. Lin Muyu returned to her seat. It felt good to have someone paying the bill. She picked up the stewed bear paw soup and took a sip. She couldn't help but be in a good mood. Wow, it smells so good. Qin Yin chuckled and closed her eyes. Her long eyelashes trembled slightly. Brother Yu, Si Kongyao and the others are here. On the street, under the illumination of red lanterns, a group of soldiers slowly entered Shiping City. Everyone had the same emblem on their arms. That was the image of the divine beast Bai Zhe. The girl riding a tall horse at the front was none other than Si Kongyao. Chapter 961. Are we going down to see Si Kongyao now? Tang Xiaoxi asked. No. Lin Muyu shook her head and said, We agreed to keep it a secret. Look at the streets, the prefectural governor's men are already there to welcome us. If we go down to see Yao, we will definitely be recognized. I don't want Qin Yu, Gong Shangming, Duo La, and the others to know that we have also come to Tianji Empire. And then when are we going to see? A little later. We will wait for Yao to come find us. To everyone's disappointment, Jing Nan didn't come back to seek revenge. He didn't come back even after Lin Muyu and the others had finished their meal and left the restaurant. It seemed like Shiping City really didn't have many soldiers left. After returning to the relay station, they didn't rest but continued to cultivate. In order to become stronger, Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi didn't slack off for even a single day. They each cultivated their own laws of laws. Lin Muyu's cultivation of the Supreme Godhead was slow, but Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi's cultivation had made significant progress. One had the Overgod Godhead, while the other had the Immortal Godhead. The power of light and fire had become more profound, which was gratifying. A sparkling Godhead slowly rotated in his palm, turning into strands of divine power that surrounded the three of them. This Godhead came from Bailey Qin, so it was easy to imagine how pure a God Emperor's Godhead was. If it was cultivated by one person, it would be impossible to completely refine it. Fortunately, Lin Muyu was used to cultivating with Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi. Therefore, the three of them could refine and absorb the power of the Godhead together, which made this Godhead much more valuable. But even so, the powerful divine power contained in the Godhead couldn't be completely refined in 1 or 2 tries. In the past half a month, the three of them had been refining it constantly, but this Godhead still had about half of its spiritual power stored. Slowly after they finished cultivating, they still had Han Shu and Bai Ming Huan's Godheads to refine. As for Fu Yu and the others' Godheads, they had already given them to Feng Jixing, Wei Chou, and Situ Senator. As for Fu Yu and the others' Godheads, they had already given them to Feng Jixing, Wei Chou, and Situ Senator. After an unknown period of time, a voice suddenly appeared in Lin Muyu's EC. "Big brother Yu, are you still there?" Lin Muyu replied, "Yao, I'm on the 2nd floor, room number 1. "Okay, I'll be right there." Lin Muyu stood up and said, "Xiaoyin, Xiaoxi, Yao is here." The two beauties immediately tidied up their clothes. This was their first official meeting with Si Kongyao, so they had to be formal and dignified. They didn't want others to think that the Shattered Cauldron Realm's Great Empress and Princess Funguo were too vague. Creak. The room door opened and Si Kongyao, dressed in martial attire, stood at the door. She looked at Lin Muyu with a smile and said, "Long time no see." "And long time no see." To Lin Muyu's surprise, Si Kongyao threw herself into his arms and said with a bell-like smile, "Big brother Yu, I missed you so much. You're finally back." Shu. Behind them, Lu Bai and the 7 or 8 high-ranking generals of the Baizhe mercenary team gasped in unison. All along, Si Kongyao, the true owner of the Baizhe mercenary team, had always been swift and decisive. Everyone thought that this lass was already a tomboy, but at this moment, they realized that she was actually a young lady. At this moment, Si Kongyao blinked her big eyes and saw that there were 2 devastatingly beautiful women behind Lin Muyu. She was stunned and broke away from Lin Muyu's embrace. "These 2 are." Qin Yin smiled and said, "I'm Qin Yin." Tang Xiaoxi said, "Tang Xiaoxi." Immediately, Si Kongyao's face turned red. She looked at Lin Muyu with a blaming look and said, "Why didn't you tell me that the Empress and Princess Xi are here? Oh, it's so embarrassing." Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile and said, "You didn't ask. It's all your fault." Si Kongyao hurriedly bowed and said, "Yao pays her respects to the 2 sisters-in-law." When she said this, Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi were instantly elated. This form of address sounded so comfortable. Lin Muyu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She said, "Come in, it's travel-worn outside." "Yes." Lu Bai walked in with a group of generals. Then he knelt on one knee and said, "Greetings, Your Highness Yu." "Greetings, Your Highness Yin and Princess Xi." "Get up. There's no need to be so polite." Lin Muyu raised her hand and everyone stood up. Lin Muyu could also see that there were 3 Saint Martial Venerables among this group of generals. Si Kongyao was indeed skillful. The combat power of the Baizhe mercenaries was extraordinarily strong. "Bai, how are you?" Lin Muyu asked with a smile. "I'm fine. Thank you for your concern, Your Highness." "Oh, I'm not Your Highness anymore. There's only one Highness in the Qin Empire now, and that's Xiao Yin. My current position is the Marshal of the 3 armies and the commander of the Longdan Army Camp." Longdan Army Camp. One of the young generals said, "Is it the Longdan Army Camp that defeated the Flowing Dawn Army, the Longdan Army, and the Tsangyan Army?" "Yes." Lin Muyu nodded. The young general's eyes were burning. "Marshal, the Longdan Army Camp not only shocked the Broken Cauldron world, but it's also famous all over the world. Everyone in the entire Celestial Pole continent knows the name of the Longdan Army Camp. Everyone says that in terms of combat power, the Longdan Army Camp is worthy of being the #1 army in the world." Lin Muyu smiled and said, "There's no need to be envious of the Longdan Army Camp. The Baizhe mercenaries are also an army established by me, Lin Muyu. Every one of you is equivalent to a member of the Longdan Army Camp." Sooner or later, the Bai Zhe mercenaries will join forces with the Longdan army camp. Really? Yes. That's great. All the generals were overjoyed. After all, the reputation of mercenaries didn't sound so good. Just by hearing it, one would know that they were people who exchanged their lives for money. However, the Longdan army camp was different. Every soldier with a sense of honor would feel honored to join an army like the Longdan army camp. At this moment, Si Kongyao said, "Brother Yu, why are you all staying here? Follow me to the city lord's residence. I've already obtained the seal of Shiping City. From now on, Shiping City and the entire Xishan province are ours. Why are you all staying in such a small place?" "No need." Lin Muyu shook her head and said, "This time I don't plan to show my face in public. I'll keep as low a profile as possible. Don't let anyone know that I'm in the celestial pole continent. I'll give advice and suggestions to the Bai Zhe mercenaries. Don't worry, Yao." "Yes, that's good too." Si Kongyao pondered for a moment and said, "We'll probably set off for East Com City after resting for a day or two. Why don't we do this? Brother Yu and my two sisters-in-law change into the clothes of the strategists and move with the army? The people of the Celestial Empire will only pay attention to how many war horses and elite soldiers we have. They won't care how many strategists we have." "Yes, that's good too." The heavy snow was still falling. Suddenly, a violent voice came from downstairs. "Brat, get out here. Your grandpa Jingnan is here to settle the score with you." "Jingnan?" Lu Bai was stunned. "Isn't that the nephew of the prefectural governor Jing Shou? What is he doing here?" "He's here to settle the score with me." Lin Muyu smiled helplessly. Si Kongyao was confused. How did brother offend someone like him? "I can't help it. Your two sisters-in-law are too beautiful." Lin Muyu laughed out loud. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi blushed. They didn't know how to respond. Lu Bai clenched his fists and said, "Who cares? Lin General, you wait here. I'll go down and deal with this brat first. Shiping City is now our world. How long does he think he can do anything?" "There's no hurry. I'll go and take a look. I don't want him to hurt the innocent." "Yes." Lin Muyu pushed open the door and jumped into the courtyard. She floated down with the snowflakes and saw torches in front of her. This time Jing Nan had brought a lot of people with him. There were at least 50 of them, and they were all dressed in military uniforms. Many of them were the guards of the prefecture. The strongest one could even condense the king's fighting flame. "Brat, you have guts." Jing Nan fiercely pulled out his sword and pointed it at Lin Muyu. He said, "Don't you know whose territory you're in? How dare you be so arrogant? You're simply courting death. Guards, this man is a human trafficker. According to the laws of the Tianji Empire, he should be executed immediately. Kill him and find the two innocent women." "Yes." A group of guards pulled out their weapons and stepped forward. Jing Nan's eyes were full of pride. "Where's your arrogance? Aren't you very good at fighting? I'd like to see how you can defeat my 100 elite guards." Lin Muyu furrowed her brows. At this time, Si Kongyao's voice came from upstairs. "Guards, surround him and disarm." Rustle, rustle, rustle. The sound of footsteps was endless. Countless Bai Zhe mercenaries rushed out from every corner of the inn, the sides of the street, and the alleys. They raised their torches and pointed their bows at Jing Nan's people. In the blink of an eye, they surrounded the 100 people. Lu Bai and a group of captaincy also pulled out their swords and surrounded Lin Muyu, pointing at Jing Nan and his people. Under the shining light of the torches, the 3 golden stars on the necks of Lu Bai and the other generals were very bright. In the celestial pole land, a person with a 3-star military rank was a lieutenant of at least 5,000 people. This also meant that the status of this group of people was higher than Jing Nan. Moreover, there were more than a dozen of them. What kind of lineup was this? Lin Muyu smiled lightly. "With these people, I can afford to offend you, right?" Jing Nan seemed to be petrified for a moment. What's going on?" Si Kongyao descended from the sky. Jing Nan immediately knelt down. Greetings, eldest Miss Si Kongyao." Si Kongyao said coldly, "What is young Master Jing Nan doing here in the middle of the night?" "I didn't know eldest Miss was also here. I just came to find a human trafficker." "Human trafficker?" Si Kongyao sneered. "There are no human traffickers here, only distinguished guests. Guards, disarm and throw Jing Nan into the dungeon. He will be sentenced to 1 year. The reason is, he offended me. The rest of you become Bai Zhe mercenaries and follow me into battle." "Yes." Jing Nan's face was ashen. He looked at Lin Muyu from afar. Only then did he understand that the youth in front of him was not someone he could afford to offend. As for the 2 beautiful women, how should he put it? In this world, those stunning beauties that could cause the downfall of a city and country were generally not people that ordinary people could touch. Although it was cruel, this was the truth. Chapter 962. On the 5th of December the sky cleared up. Baize's 180,000 mercenaries left Shiping City in a grandiose manner, leaving less than 5,000 people to defend the city. At the same time they took 10,000 soldiers from Shiping City to serve as backup troops. Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi were mixed in with the strategists. They had all changed into black robes. All the strategists were hidden in the dark, which was why they wore black robes. They never showed their faces to others. However, a sword hilt wrapped in black cloth protruded from Lin Muyu's cloak, making people feel somewhat stifled. Even though she was a strategist who could fight. She wasn't weak like the others. Si Kongyao rode alongside Lin Muyu. The army passed by in a grandiose manner. The armored cavalry opened the way, and the grain carriages escorted the rear. As they were fighting on their own, there was no need to bring too much rations. After entering East Kam province, the local government would prepare rations for the army. The cold wind howled, causing the war flag to flutter. Si Kongyao narrowed her beautiful eyes and said, "Brother Yu, we just received news that Qin Yu's army has surrounded East Kam City. Gong Xiangming has led nearly 300,000 troops to defend East Kam City. There are also nearly 200,000 scattered troops outside. Qin Yu has 500,000 troops surrounding the city. What should we do? If we attack from the inside and outside, we might have a chance of winning. Doesn't Qin Yu still have nearly 400,000 troops that he hasn't used? These 400,000 troops can attack us at any time. If we really go to help them, I'm afraid we'll become their main target." Lin Muyu smiled faintly. "Besides, Yao, you and Bai worked hard to raise our 180,000 troops. This time, I don't plan on letting your 180,000 troops join the main battle." "We're not fighting the main battle?" Si Kongyao was shocked. Even Lu Bai was stunned. "Lin General, if we don't fight head-on, how can we defeat the enemy? Qin Yu's million-strong army isn't paper. They can be blown away with a single breath. If we don't bleed them, I'm afraid they won't know how powerful they are. It's impossible for them to retreat from East Kam province." "I know. Let's talk after we enter East Kam province. Have we sent out our scouts?" "They've been released. Give me a detailed map of Qin Yu's army's distribution and supply routes within 3 days." "Yes." Tang Xiaoxi leisurely rode on her horse as she looked at the scenery on both sides. With Lin Muyu overseeing the Baize mercenaries, she didn't need to worry about anything. After all, Lin Muyu had fought in wars for so many years. She was talented enough to be the master of the generals in the Heaven Pole continent. As long as Lin Muyu wanted to win, it was impossible for her to not win. Qin Yin would also secretly open her eyes of blazing dawn to look at the surrounding scenery from time to time. She had already learned to control the domain power of the eyes of blazing dawn. Although she hadn't reached the point where she could control it freely, she was able to open her eyes and no longer launch indiscriminate pressure attacks. At the very least, when she wasn't hostile, the people around her wouldn't feel too much pressure. "So the snowy scenery in the Heaven Pole continent is also so beautiful," Qin Yin whispered. Lin Muyu also lowered her voice and chuckled. "Yes, but Xiaoyin, don't worry. Sooner or later, every inch of this land will belong to us, and the entire Heaven Pole continent will also be included in our Great Qin's version." Qin Yin trembled slightly. "Brother, have you really decided to go on an expedition across the sea?" "Yes, but we still need some time. At most 3 years, at least 1 year. We need to make sufficient preparations before we can make a decision." Lin Muyu looked straight at her and said, "Xiaoyin, do you think I've changed?" "Yes, a little," Qin Yin nodded. "If it was in the past, brother, you most likely wouldn't take the initiative to attack others. There's no other way. If we attack first, we'll be controlled by others." Lin Muyu heaved a sigh of relief, her gaze deep as she said, "When I know that the opponent will deal a fatal blow, I can't be soft-hearted anymore. I don't want the people I care about to die one by one and leave me." "Yes, Xiaoyin will do her best to support you. After we're unified, let's ascend? Brother Demon Emperor and Fairy Ziyao in East Heaven will definitely look forward to our ascension. After that, our names will be listed in the Heaven Realm's immortal register." "Yes." 3 days later, it started snowing again. The army finally entered East Kam province and was less than 500 kilometers away from the battlefield in East Kam City. However, Lin Muyu instructed Si Kongyao to pass down an order not to rush to East Kam City at full speed. Instead, they would rest once a day in the provinces and counties along the way. They would only travel a distance of 25 kilometers a day. At the same time, they would constantly send out scouts to gather information on the battlefield. Furthermore, King Lanji gifted the Bai Zhe mercenaries with 10 wolf falcons and beast tamers, which played an excellent role as scouts. In the evening, Xian County. Xian County wasn't considered rich. It was only a small province in East Com Province. It had a population of nearly 200,000, and its main industries were farming, fishing, and hunting. Si Kongyao had the princess token, so she was warmly received by the governor of Xian County. When the army arrived outside the county city and set up camp in the evening, a large number of provisions, armaments, cattle, and sheep were delivered from the city. Therefore it was easy to slaughter pigs and cows to reward the army. The central tent of the Bai Zhe mercenaries was heavily guarded. Even the governor of Xian County wasn't qualified to enter. However, when Lu Bai opened the tent door and walked in, he found Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, Si Kongyao, and the others cooking beef hot pot. They had received a large piece of beef thigh from the governor of Xian County, and it was just right for the hot pot. Lu Bai sat down honestly and beamed. Wow, I didn't expect there to be delicious food for dinner tonight. Si Kongyao glared at him. Did you complete the mission? Yes. Lu Bai took out a scroll and handed it to Si Kongyao. Si Kongyao handed it to Lin Muyu and said, Brother, you take a look. Ask me if there's anything you don't understand. I've been to East Com Province many times, so I'm very familiar with it. Okay. Lin Muyu sat cross-legged and unfurled the scroll with a whoosh. It was a large map of East Com Province and Tianji Province. On it, red ink had been used to mark the defenses, camps, manpower, and supply routes of the 900,000 troops under Qin Yu's command. Lin Muyu pondered for a long time before slowly putting down the map. What's the matter? Qin Yin asked. Lin Muyu took a deep breath. Qin Yu is indeed Qin Yu. He can't be compared to those muddle-headed emperors like Qin Yi, Baiming Yuan, and Shi Yuan. Look, his 500,000 troops have surrounded East Com City and blocked all the exits. The other 400,000 troops are divided into 8 groups. 3 of them are in the southeast of East Com City to guard against reinforcements from the Blackstone Empire. The other 5 are in a pentagon formation to the north of us. The 5 armies can cooperate with each other at any time. These 250,000 troops are used to stop us. Si Kongyao narrowed her eyes and said, These 250,000 troops are the Terminus Earth Corps, led by Zhou Binlong. In the army of the Celestial Empire, apart from the Terminus Heaven Corps led by Dongqing Wang, this Terminus Earth Corps is the second best. Qin Yu really thinks highly of the Bai Zhe mercenaries by sending the Terminus Earth Corps to deal with us. At this time, a dragon's roar suddenly came from above. It's a dragon knight. Tang Xiaoxi was slightly startled. Qin Yin gently moved her palm, and a faint divine luster surrounded her jade-like fingers. She asked, Big brother Yu, the Bai Zhe mercenaries don't have a dragon knight. It must be the Celestial Empire's dragon knights spying on us. Should we take care of them? No need. Lin Muyu shook her head. Don't worry about it. If it wants to watch, let it watch to its heart's content. Let's continue eating. Unless it's absolutely necessary, the 3 of us shouldn't expose ourselves. I don't want to officially break off relations with Qin Yu for the time being. After all, we are still allies on the surface. Si Kongyao started to feel uneasy. She frowned and said, Then, Big brother Yu, we are less than 400 li away from the Terminus Earth Corps. Their cavalry can rush here in a day and night. Are we really going to sit here and wait for death? Yao passed down the order to strengthen the defenses. After setting up camp, we must immediately dig fortifications and bury antlers. The spear soldiers will be stationed at the periphery. The archers will be behind them. The cavalry will be in the middle. Even if they rush here to attack, they will be tired cavalry. We have the spear soldiers and archers. Why would we be afraid of a tired cavalry? Si Kongyao smiled gently and nodded. Yes, I understand. At that moment, Si Kongyao felt that Lin Muyu was truly an exceptional general. It was as though as long as he was by her side, victory would be in her grasp. There was nothing to worry about. When Lin Muyu gave the order, he revealed a calm and confident look. This was something that Si Kongyao had never seen before. The young lady's heart thumped, but in front of Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi, Si Kongyao could only control her emotions. So be it. Calling someone I like brother and sister is better than being strangers. Lu Bai rubbed his hands together. Let's eat hot pot. Let's eat hot pot. Lin Muyu glared at him. What are you eating for? Go and give a new order before eating. Ah? There's another order? Yes, send the scouts out again. Why, haven't we already found out the details of the army? The distribution of rations, the amount of rations stored, the amount of rations being transported, and the details. I need all of these. If we just do a rough investigation, it will harm the entire army. Yes, this subordinate understands. Lu Bai was solemn. He placed the helmet under his armpit and bowed before leaving. Chinin was surprised. Big brother, what are your plans? Rations, it's still rations. Lin Muyu muttered to herself. The Celestial Empire's 900,000 people entered East Com province, but they didn't manage to conquer any of the cities along the way before they surrounded East Com city. Therefore, most of the Celestial Empire's rations have to be transported from the mainland. However, the two places are separated by such a huge forest of no return. Their rations route must have been approved by the Demon Empress, so we just need to cut off the rations route and secretly send people to burn their granaries. Think about it, how much rations do 900,000 people need to eat in a day? In less than 5 days, they will have to kill their horses to appease their hunger. In less than half a month, I'm afraid the Celestial Empire will collapse without a fight. Once they flee without any cavalry, our cavalry will be able to chase after them. 900,000 troops. It'll be good enough if half of them can return to the Celestial Empire. Si Kong Yao's little mouth was agape. This was the true definition of a famed general. This was the penetrating insight that a famed general should have. Lu Bai and the rest were only thinking about the battle before them, but Lin Muyu was already thinking about the battle that would happen a month later. The difference in their ability to grasp a war was like heaven and earth. Chapter 963. I'm afraid it won't be easy to cut off the supply route. Tang Xiaoxi frowned. Wouldn't Qin Yu have predicted this? Also, since the Monster Empress has decided to cooperate with the Celestial Empire, I'm afraid it won't be so easy to cut off the supply route. Yes. Lin Muyu nodded and smiled. But Qin Yu would never have predicted that. I know Nushir. Also, I know that Nushir only wants the survival of the Monster Empress. Nothing else is important. Since Qin Yu can cooperate with Nushir, then we can too. Let's not talk anymore. Let's eat. The army can advance slowly. Leave the rest to me. After a full meal, everyone responded. Lin Muyu, Qinin, and Tang Xiaoxi shared a tent. There were 3 wooden beds in the tent, and the quilts were warm and dry. In the middle of the night, Lin Muyu suddenly sat up and grabbed the Shenyuan sword beside the bed. What's wrong? Qinin was a light sleeper. She opened her eyes and looked at him. I want to see Nushir. I knew it. Qinin smiled. Since you want to go, I'll go with you. It's safer this way. There's no need. Nushir is very cautious. Xiao Yin has the blood of a battle angel flowing in her veins. Once she finds out, it will cause unnecessary misunderstandings. Don't worry, even if I can't defeat her, I can still leave. Don't forget that I have the divine book of the law of space with me. All right then, Qinin nodded. Xiaoxi and I will wait for you here. Early, you must be careful. Yes. Lin Muyu stood up and disappeared in a flash. He appeared in the sky 10 miles away. He suppressed his aura to the level of an ordinary person and spread his spiritual sense to search for the Monster Empress Nushir's aura. The cold wind was biting cold. After flying for nearly 500 miles, his heart suddenly moved. He found a tyrannical demonic aura somewhere in the east, so he quickly flew over. At night it was snowing heavily. But on top of the hill stood a beautiful woman, holding a peeper in her arms. Her cloak was covered with snow. She looked up at the sky, her eyebrows slightly furrowed. Suddenly, the corners of her mouth curled up, revealing a happy smile. You're finally back. Whoosh! With the flying snow, Lin Muyu slowly descended and stood straight in front of Nushir. Lin Muyu? Yes, Your Majesty. Lin Muyu said cheerfully, You seem to know that I would come? That's right. The female assassin looked at him with a pair of penetrating eyes and said, I don't know when you will come and who you will bring, but I know that you will definitely come. Let's get straight to the point. Lin Muyu brushed off the snow on his shoulder and said, Your Majesty is cooperating with Qin Yu. I believe that Qin Yu must have offered a generous bargaining chip. Otherwise, Your Majesty would not agree to cooperate with humans. The bargaining chip is not considered generous, but there is a sharp knife placed on the neck of my demon spirit race. What kind of sharp knife? Flames. Lin Muyu was startled, but he was an intelligent person and immediately understood what was going on. He said, If Your Majesty does not agree to Qin Yu's request, he will send people to burn down the forest of no return? Your Highness, you is indeed smart. Nu Shi smiled faintly. Lin Muyu couldn't help but sigh. What kind of person is your majesty? You have never cared about worldly affairs and monopolized a region. Now that you are being threatened by someone like Qinyu, I believe it must not be a good feeling. A great humiliation, Nu Shi said word by word with a murderous look on her face. Lin Muyu smiled and said, It's all right. I am here. We can talk about a new cooperation. Nu Shi smiled. Your Highness, you tell me first. What bargaining chip do you have? According to what I know, the Shattered Cauldron realm can't even protect itself now. Qin Xian established a nation and started to isolate you and Empress Qin Yin's power. The allied forces of the feudal vassals have become the so-called nation army. You can't even protect your throne, so how are you going to cooperate with me? I have another bargaining chip. Lin Muyu reached into her pocket and took out a token that was emitting a faint golden radiance. She said, Your Highness, do you recognize this? Nu Shi was slightly stunned. The commander token of the Bai Zhe mercenary troop? That's right. The Bai Zhe mercenary troop is my private army with a total of 180,000 soldiers. They have sufficient military equipment and rations. If I have the Bai Zhe mercenary troop as a bargaining chip, does your Highness think that we can talk about cooperation? Nu Shi smiled. Alright, Lin Muyu is indeed Lin Muyu. No one would have expected you to make such a move. It's good that you kept the Bai Zhe mercenary troop. I'm afraid that a mere Bai Zhe mercenary troop will cause chaos in the celestial pole continent. Please tell me, your Highness, how do you want to cooperate? Lin Muyu was not in a hurry to answer. Instead, she took out an umbrella from her cosmos sack and opened it with a swoosh. She walked forward to shield the demon empress from the wind and snow. She smiled and said, This place is really not suitable to talk about such a big matter. Nu Shi couldn't help but smile. She felt warmth in her heart. She was the demon spirit king and was born with unparalleled beauty. However, no man in this world dared to treat her well. Lin Muyu was the first. More importantly, Nu Shi didn't dislike this man. Instead, she felt that he was very interesting and she was willing to get close to him. Thinking of this, Nu Shi's face suddenly turned red. She couldn't help but curse herself in her heart. She was simply crazy. However, Lin Muyu didn't notice Nu Shi's abnormality. She continued, Your Highness gave up a supply route in the Forest of No Return, allowing the Celestial Empire to pass through the Forest of No Return. This is the biggest bargaining chip that Qinyu can use to cross the Forest of No Return to attack the Tianji Empire. Without this supply route, I'm afraid that Qinyu's million-strong army will be nowhere to go. Nu Shi was stunned. Your Highness, you wants me to cut off the supply route? You don't have to do it yourself. The Bai Zhe mercenaries can do it for you. All your Highness has to do is order the demon spirit army not to attack the Bai Zhe mercenaries. I don't even need your Highness to use a single soldier to help me. You can just watch from the sidelines. Then, what benefits does our demon spirit race have? Too many. Lin Muyu smiled and said, First of all, you don't have to be threatened by Qinyu anymore. Once Qinyu's army is defeated, he won't even have the strength to set fire to the Forest of No Return. Secondly, the demon spirit race lives in the forest all year round and is constantly under threat. Your Highness can take advantage of the situation and attack the Tianji Empire's Huiyuan province. Taking down Huiyuan City will become the foundation of the demon spirit race. Thirdly, when my great Qin's million-strong army sweeps through the Celestial Pole continent, your Highness can join hands with me to rule the Celestial Pole continent. Nu Shi's shoulders slightly trembled. Lin Muyu's words had greatly exceeded her imagination. Your Highness, you wants my demon spirit race to participate in the struggle for hegemony in the Celestial Pole continent? Your Highness, can you avoid it? Furthermore, the demon spirit race is already involved. You helped the Celestial Empire to attack the Qinji Empire's Yanji Corps, causing the Yanji Corps to be defeated and Zhang Cheng to be killed. Even if you don't attack the Qinji Empire will take revenge sooner or later. Zhang Cheng is the sacred martial god, an existence second only to Sikong Ming. Your Highness, do you think that Bai Ming Yuan will let your demon spirit race off? Nu Shi's shoulders violently trembled. Perhaps it was because of the cold, or perhaps it was because of fear. If Bai Ming Yuan really wanted to take revenge, the price would be too great. Lin Muyu continued, Once the supply route is cut off, Qinyu will definitely panic. He will then give the order to attack the city. There will definitely be a decisive battle between the Celestial Empire and the Tianji Empire. As long as both of them suffer heavy losses, your Highness can take advantage of the situation and seize the Huiyuan province. With the Huiyuan province and the Xishan province occupied by the Bai Zhe mercenaries, It will be enough to establish a foothold in this celestial pole continent. Wuxia nodded. After thinking for a long time, she raised her head and smiled. Has your highness you already thought about the future for my demon spirit race? That's right. Lin Muyu's eyes were like torches as she looked at her, because I have long regarded your highness as an ally. Your highness wants to enjoy peaceful days and so do I. However, only after eliminating the dissidents will there be true peace. What your highness has to do is very simple. It's just a choice. Choose me, Qinyu, or even Bai Mingyuan. Whoever you think will be the final ruler of this continent, you can choose him. Wuxia's eyes were tranquil. After a few seconds she said, Can your highness you show me your sword? Yes. Lin Muyu unsheathed the Shenyuan sword. Wuxia held the divine sword, her body slightly trembling. She said, Such a powerful morality. This is? The Shenyuan sword, the weapon that Brother Demon Emperor gave me. The Shenyuan sword. Wuxia raised her head and looked at him. This is the sword of a king? Lin Muyu was stunned. Why do you say that? Wuxia took a step back and knelt on the ground. Demon Emperor Wuxia is willing to respect Lin Muyu as the king. As long as the king points, the demon race will go through fire and water. Lin Muyu hurriedly reached out to hold her arms. Get up, your highness is too kind. Wuxia stood up and smiled. Then the alliance has been formed. It seems that your highness has also made a choice. Yes, with the Eastern Heaven Realm's 7 luminaries Demon Emperor as your backing, your highness you will eventually become the king of this plane. This little girl is just adapting to the circumstances. Lin Muyu looked at her deeply. He knew that his charm had not reached the point where it could confuse the Demon Emperor. Wuxia was very smart and her choice would be the wisest. A land of exile. Dark clouds rolled in the sky as if a heavy rain was coming. On the ground, countless creatures looked up at the sky. They knew that it rarely rained in the land of exile. Even if it rained, it was just acid rain contaminated by radiation. Thunder rumbled and a bolt of lightning tore open the sky. The exiles looked up at the sky and saw a beautiful woman with 6 wings behind her descending from the sky. When she landed in the town, the 6 wings disappeared on their own, as if they had never appeared. She looked around and stepped into a tavern. Give me a glass of strong wine. She pressed a gold coin on the counter. The owner of the tavern was a bearded man who had lost an eye. He was slightly startled, then accepted the gold coin and said, Please wait a moment, it will be ready soon. The beautiful woman wore an exquisite angel costume and slowly sat on a seat by the window. Pop. A few minutes later, amidst the flashes of lightning and strong winds outside, another beautiful figure appeared. It was still a 6-winged angel. She slowly flew to the window and said faintly, Xian, is this your choice? You said that you want to go back to your hometown to rest, but why did you come to such a filthy place like the land of exile? Do you know how great of a loss this is to the Western Heaven Realm? Why don't you go back to your hometown? Xian held the goblet, took a sip and smiled. Hometown? My old friends there have long died. What kind of hometown is it without any relatives? My only relative is called Xin, and she is in the Shattered Cauldron Realm. Eva was stunned. You want to go to the Shattered Cauldron Realm? Yes. But the power of the Divine Pact is still there. Once you go to the Shattered Cauldron Realm without being exiled, you will lose all your power. It's okay, I'm just going to find my family. I don't need power. Do you want to come in for a drink? Eva frowned and sat in front of Xian saying, You are even more willful than Xin. So I want to go to her. Eva, do you want to come with me and leave this hypocritical world? Me? Eva took the strong wine, took a sip and said, Forget it, I don't have that kind of luck. Not far away, a few burly men who were drinking didn't dare to make a sound. No one dared to breathe loudly. The people of the land of exile all knew the legend of the Heaven Realm. These 2 beautiful women both had 6 wings. They were the 2 strongest blazing angels in the God Realm. Who dared to provoke them unless they didn't want to live? However, it was really too boring for 2 blazing angels to come to this barren land to drink. Chapter 964. Tell me, what are you thinking? Eva held her goblet and looked indifferently at Xian, her best friend who had known her for over 10,000 years. Actually, I don't have any thoughts. I'm just very confused. Xian put down her goblet, raised her hands behind her head, and lay lazily on the dirty sofa. Also, I'm tired. I don't want to continue working meaninglessly. Tired? Yes. For tens of thousands of years, we've experienced many massacres. Every time I firmly believed that what we did was for judgment and justice. But now it seems that isn't the case. We're just trying to protect our position as the master of the God realm. Shi Yin laughed self-deprecatingly. I originally thought that I was a blazing angel who defended the Western divine realm. But now it seems that I'm just an executioner. For our own selfish desires, we've caused the mortal world to be at war for years. Many living beings have died because of us. This isn't something that the God realm should do. Gods should pity the common people and not treat mortals as ants. Are you blaming the ruler? Eva asked with a smile. No, I'm not. Shi Yin shook her head, but felt that such a denial was too weak. Mao Hua took another sip of wine and said, just as you said, the ruler's actions over the past year have indeed exceeded the standards of a ruler of the God realm, and he is more like a tyrant. But Shi Yin, you should also look at it from another perspective. The rise of the East Heaven Court has caused the other three great heaven realms to feel that they are in imminent danger. At this time, the ruler has already lost his composure. Is it too much to do so many things in order to protect his ruling position in the West Heaven realm? He's just doing what a ruler should do. Maybe you're right. Shi Yan's gaze was indifferent. After I signed a divine contract with Xiao, why can the seven luminaries Demon Emperor and Xiao abide by it, but not the Lord Ruler? Were the seven luminaries Demon Emperor and Xiao not worried about losing the Shattered Cauldron realm in Linmuyu? They are worried as well, but they don't want to trample on their own dignity and principles. Just like Linmuyu and Xin, they have their own principles and bottom lines that they will never be willing to violate. As for the Lord Ruler, he has already lost all of his bottom lines. Eva was stunned. She muttered, You're very angry at the sovereign? Or rather, I'm disappointed. Shi Yin looked out of the window, her eyes as clear as water. That's why I've decided to leave the immortal world and become immortal, to pursue the life I want. Even if I can't achieve eternal life, at least I want to truly live once. Why don't we go through the star cavern? Eva looked straight at her. Because I don't want to continue supporting the divine pact. This is a meaningless divine pact. Shi Yin suddenly stood up and said, Time's up. Eva, I'm going to the Shattered Cauldron realm to look for Xin. What about you? Me? Eva pursed her red lips and said, The Western divine realm is in chaos now. Due to the overbearing attitude of the East Heaven, all the great families are in a state of panic. The flames of war have already been ignited at the borders. I have to lead the divine race army to quell the chaos. Sigh, it's not too late for you to change your mind now. At least you still have your blazing angel cultivation. However, once you go to the Shattered Cauldron realm, you will trigger the divine pact and lose everything. Lose everything? Shi Yin smiled and shook her head. No, I still have Xin. I heard that Terralyn Lake and the others are still in the Shattered Cauldron realm. Following Xin is equivalent to betraying the Western divine realm. The sovereign definitely won't let them off. So I have the responsibility to lead them to a path of survival. Can you still lead them to the light after losing your godly power? What? You don't believe in my ability? Shi Yin smiled and gently opened her palm. A small sword of light condensed at the tip of each of her fingers. She smiled and said, Eva, don't forget that we have sparred countless times over the years. You have never won against me even once. I admit that the 7 slashes are indeed powerful. However, can you still use the 7 slashes without your godly power? Eva frowned. How about this? After I return to the Western divine realm, I will immediately look for Li Fei and have her descend to the mortal world to find you. Li Fei's strength is not bad. At the very least, she can ensure your safety. There's no need. Don't let anyone find me. What? I don't want to be a blazing angel anymore, Shi Yin said very calmly. However, Eva was stunned. She could hardly believe that Shi Yin would say such a thing. Blazing angels were existences that were almost ultimate gods. What kind of person would be willing to give up such a noble identity? Alright Eva, I'm leaving. Shi Yin stood up and suddenly disappeared from the small tavern. The next moment, a ball of fire fell straight into the distance. It was a force that had entered the spatial crack. Eva gritted her teeth. She felt the ground beneath her feet start to tremble. Rays of golden light appeared in the air. The light condensed into ancient characters that spun rapidly in the air. Soon after they all collapsed. The divine pact had been broken. The price was that Shi Yin had lost all of her cultivation. Whoosh! A pillar of light poured down on the ground. The next moment, in the depths of the forest, the light gradually condensed into the image of a beautiful woman. She wore a long white dress and knelt in the wild grass as if she was not afraid of the cold. Roar! Her Di Lin had alarmed the surrounding beasts. A grizzly bear woke up from its sleep, roaring and waving its sharp claws to kill. Go back. Shi Yan looked indifferently in the direction of the grizzly bear. She muttered silently, go back and rest immediately. Otherwise you will regret it. Roar, the grizzly bear stopped. A pair of black eyes stared at the delicious meal of Shi Yan. It raised its head and roared. It actually walked back to its nest dejectedly. This was a 240-year-old spiritual grizzly bear. Shi Yan, who had lost her cultivation, actually scared off the grizzly bear just by relying on the aura of a former blazing angel. Humph, what a child. The corners of Shi Yan's mouth curled up with pride. She slowly drew out the sword Blazing Moon from her waist. The blade was slightly curved, like a crescent moon. However, there was a faint scorching power around the blade. This Blazing Moon sword was also considered one of the top artifacts in the Western Divine Realm. Apart from Claude's Dig's spear and dagger of time, the Blazing Moon sword was probably the strongest. However, Shi Yan could not muster a trace of divine power in her body. Her power had been completely drained the moment she entered the Shattered Cauldron realm with the curse of the Divine Pact. At this time her body was like a huge dried-up lake. Although it was deep and wide, there was not a single drop of power left. With a slight frown, Shi Yan's hand that was holding the Blazing Moon sword trembled slightly. This long sword that had been with her for many years seemed to be on the verge of losing control. A tyrannical power surged out from the blade and slowly devoured Shi Yan's palm. In an instant, Shi Yan stood rooted to the ground. Her face was pale and her arms trembled violently. She gritted her teeth and said in an imposing manner, Blazing Moon, are you crazy? Don't tell me you don't recognize me anymore? Behave yourself. Otherwise I will smelt you and turn you into a pickaxe for digging coal. Buzz buzz, this threat was very powerful. The devouring of the Blazing Moon sword gradually weakened, allowing Shi Yan to relax. The artifact originally contained power. Although she did not have divine power in her body, she might be able to use the first few moves of the 7 slashes by using the power of the Blazing Moon. If that was the case, at least she would have the power to protect herself in this plane. Step by step, she walked to the edge of the forest. When she came to the main road, she saw a stone tablet buried at the edge of the official road from afar. On it were 3 huge words, Sangnan Province. In the East Heaven, Shi Yan's lonely figure appeared in the huge pond of illusion. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor was dressed in military attire, ready to personally lead the army into battle. Holding the Pangu axe in his hand, he squinted his eyes and smiled. The Divine Pact has been lifted. Xiao, you can finally rest assured now. At the side, Xiao nodded and smiled. Looks like Shi Yan was the first to choose to give up. Qing Ping said, at this moment the Western Divine Realm is in chaos. This is a great opportunity for us to send troops to destroy the Western Divine Realm. Demon Emperor, it's not wise to miss this opportunity. Besides, Claude has lost the help of the Blazing Angel Shi Yan. It's like he has lost an arm. This is a great opportunity for us. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor said calmly, I know. When I'm ready, we'll start the battle immediately. At this moment, from the ranks of the God Emperors, a person holding a spear walked out and said, Your Majesty Demon Emperor, this Shi Yan is one of the 2 blazing angels and also one of our greatest threats. She took the initiative to violate the Divine Pact and give up her cultivation. Could she be doing something wrong? I suggest that we immediately send a God Emperor to the lower realm to kill Shi Yan. We'll cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. We'll make the Western Divine Realm lose the strongest blazing angel. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor looked at the group of God Emperors from afar and said, What do you think? The gods were stunned. One of them stepped out and said, Your Majesty Demon Emperor, I think it's feasible. For now we haven't figured out Shi Yan's real goal. The most direct way to solve the problem is to kill Shi Yan and make all their plans go up in smoke. Is there anyone else who thinks so? The other God Emperors nodded one after another. Yes, cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. Xiao frowned slightly and looked at the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor, but she didn't say anything. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor slowly sat on the God King's seat and pointed at the crowd. He scolded while spitting saliva, That's why I said you are rookies who have been cultivating for thousands of years and haven't improved. Do you know why? Your mental state is too weak. We are gods. We should be thinking about creating the world and taking pity on all living things. But all you think about is fighting and killing all day long. When will you ever reach the 99 God Emperor realm? The gods trembled with fear. None of them dared to say anything. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor had an arrogant look on his face. Don't talk nonsense with me. Immediately prepare to attack the Western Divine Realm. Also Xiao, you don't have to go to war. Just watch over the Shattered Cauldron Realm and inform me immediately if there are any strange movements. Yes, Demon Emperor. Xiao smiled happily. Then, what about Shi Yan? Protect her well. If she encounters any danger, go to the lower realm at any time. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor nodded and looked at the simple patterns on the floor. He said, no matter what, she is Yu Yu's sister-in-law. If anything happens to Shi Yan, I won't be able to face it. Chapter 965. December 11th, Forest of No Return, heavy snow. The roads in the Forest of No Return were rugged. Only one of the mountain roads was relatively flat and could still be used to transport supplies. This road was called the Coiled Snake Road and was extremely winding. At this time, the Coiled Snake Road was covered by heavy snow, but from afar, one could see that the Celestial Empire's grain transport team had a lot of people. There were at least 5,000 of them. A large group of people at the front swept the snow and cleared the road. At the back, there were cavalry on war horses helping to drag the grain carts that were stuck in the mud. At the same time, there were 2 dragon knights hovering in the air. Sending 2 dragon knights to protect the grain route was enough to show how cautious Qinyu was in using his troops. However, this time he was destined to fail. On the mountain ridge behind the Coiled Snake Road, the densely packed cavalry and archers were already ready. Banners fluttered in the cold wind. Lu Bai, Si Kongyao, and the others stared at the 2 dragon knights in the air. Is there no problem? Lu Bai frowned and said, are these 2 dragon knights blind? We are so close, but they actually turned a blind eye to the 10,000-strong army? Lin Muyu said, don't talk nonsense. Her Majesty the Female Slayer has set up a blinding enchantment in our entire area. Even the dragon knights can't see it. The female slayer wore a white cloak and glared at Lu Bai. Lu Bai's heart almost stopped. Qinin smiled and said, then when do we make our move? Don't rush. Wait until all the grain carts arrive at the Coiled Snake Road. Lin Muyu's eyes were cold and said, there are at least 500,000 dawn of grain. This is at least 10 days' worth of rations for Qinyu's 1 million troops. As long as we cut off their rations, Qinyu will be begging for death. Si Kongyao chuckled and said, how do we make our move? Let's get rid of these 2 dragon knights first. Lin Muyu squinted at the sky and said, in a while Xiao Yin and I will go up together. Each of us will kill one of them before they release the wolf falcons. Xiao Shi will lead Bai and Yao to attack from the ground. Remember, leave some alive and try to ensure that their armor is intact. What? Lu Bai asked. Lin Muyu looked at him as if he was an idiot and said, tell me, what are we doing now? Intercept their rations. But? There's nothing else. Lin Muyu facepalmed. Bai, you idiot, you're thinking of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Don't forget that Qinyu has at least 1 million dawn of grain in Lanha County, 10 miles east of East Com City. If we don't burn down the Lanha County granary, I'm afraid Qinyu will be able to hold on for a while. We'll change into the Celestial Empire's grain carts here and sneak into Lanha County's granary. Only then can we burn down Qinyu's last hope. I understand, Lu Bai cupped his fists and said, Lin General is truly smart. This is just the basic strategy for marching troops. Read more when you have time. Yes. 30 minutes later, the operation began. The drums on the mountain sounded in unison. Swoosh, swoosh. 2 beams of light shot into the sky. Lin Muyu's Xinyuan sword had already been unsheathed, and the blade slashed straight at the dragon knight on the left. Chaotic light. What? The dragon knight hurriedly pulled out his sword to block, but how could he block it? Lin Muyu's sword borrowed the power of the mountains and broke the dragon knight's sword with great force. The Xinyuan sword cut into the dragon knight's armor with unstoppable force, and blood splattered everywhere. In just an instant, the dragon knight, who had the cultivation of the 15th level of Grotto Heaven, was killed. In another direction, Qin Yin's stellar sword had also killed another dragon knight. The first strike of Shi Yan's 7 slashes, split, was extremely lethal. On the ground, the sounds of killing rang out. Tang Xiaoxi turned into a fiery light and shuttled through the crowd of the grain carts. She held the Dig's spear in her hand, and the tip of the spear turned into fiery light as it flew out continuously. This allowed the Bai Zhe mercenaries to seize absolute dominance on the battlefield with almost no losses. In less than 10 minutes, more than half of the 5,000 grain carts of the Celestial Empire were killed. The remaining 1,000 or so surrendered. Their fighting spirit didn't seem to be very strong. Under Lin Muyu's orders, the Baizhe mercenaries imprisoned these 1,000 cavalrymen, and Liu Bai selected 1,000 elites. They put on the clothes of the grain carts and escorted the grain carts to Lanha County. Watching the grain carts leave, Liu Bai sighed. I taught these 1,000 people personally. Lin General, do you think they can come back alive? Most of them can't. Lin Muyu said. Liu Bai's heart turned cold. But Lin General, you told them that as long as they burn the granary, they can enter the stables, steal the war horses and escape. If I didn't say that, they definitely wouldn't be willing to go. Lin Muyu exhaled a breath of hot air and rubbed her cold palms. I can only give them hope and let them complete this impossible task. What kind of person is Qin Yu? He's good at scheming. His granary will definitely be heavily guarded. Even if they go in, it will be very difficult to get out. But Liu Bai was stunned. Sikong Yao, who was at the side, patted his shoulder and said, Commoner, you should also understand the principle of not being merciful in commanding an army. You can't bear to let the officers and soldiers throw away their lives. This is the reason why you are qualified to be a general, but Big Brother Ayu can do this. This is the reason why he is qualified to be a marshal. If even he is as indecisive as you, then this battle has already been lost. Lin Muyu was silent. She quietly turned around and sat on a rock. She didn't even sweep away the snow on the rock. Are you all right? Qin Yin quietly accompanied her. I'm fine. Lin Muyu raised her head to look at her and smiled. I can overcome this mentality. Over the years, tens of thousands of people have died for me, but I know that what I'm doing is right. Only by doing this can fewer people die. Only by doing this can the world be unified. The female murderer nodded her head in approval. Liu Bai seemed to think for a long time. Then what do we do now? Continue to seal off the Celestial Empire's grain routes, mine stones, and build fortresses along their retreat routes. Lin Muyu stood up and said, Since we've already formed an alliance with the demonic spirit race, we can't lead the Celestial Empire's army into the forest of no return. I want Qin Yu's defeated army to return through the Blackstone Empire and have them fight the Blackstone Empire again. Liu Bai stood there in a daze. At this moment he finally understood what war was. War was death and slaughter. It was all about schemes and strategies regardless of the cost. Yes, this subordinate understands. When he looked at Lin Muyu again, there was more respect in his eyes. Perhaps it was as Si Kongyao had said, he had too many things to learn from Lin Muyu. On the 15th day, the Lanha County's granary caught fire. Qin Yu immediately led 30,000 soldiers to extinguish the fire. After a day and a night, the fire was extinguished. However, the granary had turned into ruins in the middle of the night. Dust from the burning of the grains fell from the sky, covering every corner of the Lanha County. It made people feel despair. Rustle, 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 Qin Yu's battle boots stepped on the muddy ground. He was dressed in a golden military uniform. His expression was extremely ugly as he lightly said, Where are the supplies? A general cupped his fists. This official is here. How much rations do we have left? How many days will it last? The rations in the various camps are enough for 3 days. The remaining rations in the Lanha County can support the entire army for another 2 days. In other words, even if we reduce the rations every day, we can only last for 10 days. Only 10 days? Qin Yu's gaze was cold. What the hell are you all doing? When will the rations transport team arrive? Send my imperial edict back to Scorching Han City. Order the Minister of the Interior to immediately supervise the rations. Your Majesty. The logistics officer frowned and said, Our rations route has been cut off by a group of mercenaries. Even if we send people to supervise the rations won't reach East Com province. What a bastard. Qin Yu roared angrily. What is the demon spirit race trying to do? At the side, Liao Yang cupped his fists and said, Your Majesty, the demon spirit race's army withdrew 5 days ago. Most of them returned to the forest of no return. It seems that the demon empress has given up on cooperating with us. Fickle. Qin Yu's palm landed on the wall, leaving a clear palm print. He frowned and said, Is there no other way? Yes, we can send a small army to the surrounding cities to collect and purchase rations, but the amount won't be too much. The only way is to break into East Com City. There are more than 50 granaries in East Com City. Once they are breached, we will have an endless supply of rations. Furthermore, the defending general, Gong Xiangming, is just a weak scholar. Gong Xiangming? He's just a defeated opponent of Lin Muyu? Qin Yu took a deep breath and said, Order the army to attack the city quickly. We must take down Eastcom City within 10 days and cut off Gong Xiangming's head. Also send a small army to collect rations. Even if it's looting, they must get rations for me. Don't reduce the army's rations. I can't let the soldiers go hungry while fighting. Yes, Your Majesty. A day later, the 500,000-strong army of the Celestial Empire attacked the city. The entire Eastcom City was engulfed in the flames of war. Although Eastcom City was an isolated city, it was rich in resources and sturdy. The ones who were even more anxious were the Celestial Empire's army, which had lost their rations. After 3 days of attacking, both sides suffered heavy losses. The city was covered in corpses. The Celestial Empire's advantage was the number of dragon knights. More than 300 dragon knights circled above the city, slaughtering soldiers and burning the granaries. They were unscrupulous. In the blink of an eye, the ancient city of Eastcom was reduced to ruins. Smoke rose into the sky from within the city, and the people were in dire straits. Urgent report. A messenger rushed into the tent, panting. Marshal, we just received news that Bai Zai's mercenaries have set off. They have entered the forest of no return and have cut off the Celestial Empire's rations. Oh. Gong Xiangming pressed his hand on the map on the table and said, no wonder Qinyu attacked the city like a madman. So their rations have been exhausted. Ah, that's great. Have you found out who's commanding the Bai Zai's mercenaries? Lu Bai and Si Kongyao. That's impossible, right? Gong Xiangming frowned. Lu Bai is just a peasant, while Si Kongyao is the beloved daughter of the Celestial Bliss sect Si Kongming. How could they hit the nail on the head? Investigate further. The Bai Zai's mercenaries must have an expert commanding them. Otherwise they wouldn't have used such bold and brilliant tactics. Yes. Gong Xiangming racked his brains as he sat there, muttering to himself, who is it? Who is so powerful? Chapter 966. On the 22nd, it snowed for 4 days and 4 nights. The Celestial Empire had besieged East Peace City for 7 days straight. The city gates were covered in scars caused by the swords and catapults. The city walls looked as if they had been bathed in blood. In the cold winter, the blood of the soldiers quickly froze on the walls, making it look as if a layer of blood-colored ice crystals had been plated on the walls. Corpses were everywhere. Gong Xiangming had ordered the archers to be on guard, forbidding the Celestial Empire from collecting the corpses. As a result, layers upon layers of corpses of the Celestial Empire soldiers were piled up below the city walls. When the Celestial Empire attacked the city, they had to step over the corpses of their comrades to build ladders. It was as if the corpses had become part of the siege equipment. Late at night, the Celestial Empire's main camp ran out of food. It was cold inside the central tent. Qinyu stood in front of the map, his body trembling uncontrollably. Suddenly he turned around to look at the generals and said, we've already attacked the eastern gate this afternoon. Why did you retreat? Protector Chang, you're the general leading the army. What crime do you deserve? A captaincy hurriedly knelt down and said with an ashen face, Your Majesty, we've suffered too many casualties. 2,000 of our brothers from the vanguard have died below the city walls. The cavalry and heavy shields of the Central Army can't stop the stones on the city walls at all. Furthermore, 7 of our dragon riders have died at the eastern gate. It's not that I don't want to attack the city, it's just that I can't. Even if I gave the order, it would only be for the remaining 5,000 of our brothers to die below the city walls. You're afraid of death and you think you're in the right. Qinyu pointed at Protector Chang and shouted, If even a general is as afraid of death as you are, who would dare to attack the city without any regard for their own safety? How many soldiers and horses have died before we could reach the city walls? Because of your cowardice, we failed at the last moment, and yet you still dare to quibble. Men drag Protector Chang away and behead him. Your Majesty, this general is innocent. Protector Chang knelt on the ground, but he was pulled away by a few guards. In the blink of an eye, a bloody head was presented to Qinyu, but no one dared to say a word. After attacking the city for 7 days without any results, they had lost at least 150,000 soldiers. Qinyu needed to vent his anger and Protector Chang was just unlucky. How's the situation in the city? Qinyu looked at everyone coldly. None of the commander-level generals dared to make a sound. Only Liao Yang slowly walked forward, cupped his hands and said, Your Majesty, according to what I know, our army used the Dragon Knights to descend from the sky and burn the granaries on the first day of the siege, burning most of the stored food in Eastcom City. The food has decreased, and the 200,000 soldiers in the city can only continue to forcibly collect food from the commoners. As a result, the commoners in East Com City have been complaining incessantly. At this point, we can already see people exchanging children for food. Many commoners have not eaten for 3 to 5 days, and almost all the tree bark and roots in the city have been eaten up. Chen Yu said indifferently, "It seems that Gong Xiangming won't be able to hold out for much longer. The commoners in the city are exchanging children for food, which means that Gong Xiangming's military rations have been exhausted. As long as we surround the city, we can take down East Com City in one go. Men, take my order and deploy the Terminus Earth Corps. Let them participate in the attack." "Yes." Liao Yang frowned and said, "Your Majesty, our army's food supply has also been cut off." "When did this happen?" "This morning. It's already night now, and there are still many soldiers who haven't even eaten lunch. Many moldy and rotten grains have been taken out to be boiled, but it's still a drop in the bucket. It's not enough." "Do the soldiers know about the food shortage?" "Not yet." Chinyu took a deep breath. "But we can't let them know. Pass down the order, say that the grain transport team has been delayed on the way, and will definitely arrive within a day. In addition, kill the 10,000 warhorses of the Terminus Heaven Corps' Vanguard Battalion to save the situation." The Terminus Heaven Corps was Dongqing Wang's heart, and the Vanguard Battalion was the elite cavalry of the Terminus Heaven Corps. Suddenly, Dongqing Wang frowned and said, "Your Majesty, once the horses are killed for food, I'm afraid the combat power of the Terminus Heaven Corps will be greatly reduced. Moreover, 10,000 warhorses can feed 800,000 soldiers. After a day they will still run out of food." Qin Yu frowned. "Dongqing Wang, don't worry too much. I've calculated. In addition to the Vanguard Battalion of the Terminus Heaven Corps, we have a total of 150,000 cavalry. These 150,000 warhorses are enough for us to hold out for 15 days. As long as we hold out, the people in the city may have all starved to death, and East Com City will be won without a fight." Dongqing Wang trembled all over. "Your Majesty, are you going to give up the cavalry of the Celestial Empire? Once we lose the 150,000 cavalry, how can we fight a positional battle with the Tianji Empire? If people starve to death, even if we have the cavalry, what can we do?" Qin Yu looked at him coldly and said, "I've made up my mind. There's no need to say more. Every day we will kill the horses for food. We must block all the food routes around East Com City. If we can't eat food, Gong Xiangming can't eat either. I'd like to see how long this weak scholar can hold out." As he spoke, Qin Yu bowed to Han Yuan and said, "Lord, come with me to the Forest of No Return tonight. I want to see the Demon Emperor Nuslik and see what she's doing. Isn't she afraid of the revenge of my million-strong army?" Han Yuan nodded. "Okay." Liao Yang frowned and said, "Since Nuslik has decided to cooperate with Baizei's mercenaries, she must have made up her mind. There is no need for your Majesty and Lord to take the risk. After all, the Forest of No Return is the territory of the Demon Spirit clan. If Nuslik gathers an army, I'm afraid your Majesty's life will be in danger." Qin Yu smiled brightly. "The soldiers of the three armies are fighting to the death for me, and it is worth it for me to gamble for the lives of the soldiers of the three armies. I believe that you, Nushir, will not think of taking my life." Han Yuan cupped his fists. "Don't worry, your Majesty. I will gather all the experts from Qinjua's sect. Even if Nuslik wants to harm us, we will at most fight to the death." "Good, very good." Late at night, a group of people entered the Forest of No Return. Heavy snow swirled in the air. Nushi, who was on the hill, could see through this group of people. Lin Muyu, Si Kongyao, Qinin, and the rest were standing on top of the newly built fortress. This fortress was built by freezing mud, stones, and water. It was guarded by 100,000 Baize mercenaries and was named Baize Fortress. After many days of transportation, the Baize Fortress could be considered as a forest of arrows and a group of chariots. In the distance, Qin Yu raised his head and looked at the fortress that suddenly appeared on the grain route. He couldn't help but frown. What's going on? When did a fortress appear on the coiled snake road? Liao Yang squinted and looked carefully. The flag fluttering on the fortress is the flag of Baizei's mercenaries. So the Baizei's mercenaries have been hiding here all along. Qin Yu was silent. Liao Yang said, "Your Majesty, what's wrong?" "If we retreat." In the cold weather, Qin Yu's forehead was covered with cold sweat. "If we retreat, where should we go? The Baizei's mercenaries are like a fatal knife that appeared on our retreat path. This Si Kongyao doesn't want to leave a path of retreat for our celestial empire." Liao Yang nodded. "This fortress is blessed by nature. can be said that one man can hold the pass against 10,000. If it is really as your majesty said, I'm afraid it will be bad. Chen Yu gritted his teeth and said in a low voice, damn it. Once East P City is conquered, I will immediately eliminate the Baizei's mercenaries. These boorish men who don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Han Yuan, dressed in a black robe, flew quietly in the sky. Suddenly he said, Your Majesty, the Demon Empress Nushi is here to welcome us. Sure enough, within the swirling snow, a dense crowd of figures appeared on the hill. The Demon Empress Nushi was still hugging her pipa and stood elegantly in the snow. Her pair of intelligent eyes looked at Chen Yu's group. Around her were many demon spirits with the strength of demon kings and demon venerables. Low roars could be heard on the hill. At least 10,000 high-level demon spirits were gathered here. Chen Yu stepped on the snow and suddenly flew up. He cupped his fists in the air and said, Chen Yu greets the Demon Empress. This little girl greets your Majesty Chen Yu. Nushi smiled. May I know why your Majesty brought over 100 people here? Chen Yu smiled faintly and said, I just want to ask why your Majesty allowed the Baize mercenaries to act so wantonly on the Serpentine Path. Could it be that your Majesty has forgotten the agreement between us? I haven't forgotten. The female murderess's gaze was faint as she said, however, the Baize mercenaries' bargaining chip is more attractive. Furthermore, Miss Sikong Yao also promised that she would not burn the forest of no return. This little girl is the Demon Spirit Clan's emperor, so I can only make a choice. I chose the Baize mercenaries. Chen Yu gritted his teeth. Has your Majesty decided to become enemies with the Celestial Empire? Whatever you think. Nushi giggled. However, it seems that your Majesty has brought so many people here. I believe this battle is inevitable. Since we are going to fight, what's the point of talking so much? Descendants of the demon spirits, prepare to kill the enemy. Suddenly the mountain was filled with the howls of wolves and tigers. The demon spirits revealed their sharp claws and fangs. Not only that, but there was also a dense crowd of Baize mercenaries in white robes appearing on the hill. They all pulled their bows taut and pointed straight down the hill. The arrowheads glowed with a faint cold light. All of them were demonic heart arrows. Apart from the archers, there were also ballistas and god-hunting crossbows that were pointed at Chen Yu and the others. At the foot of the mountain, Han Yuan waved his sleeves and rays of golden light shone from his body. He looked like a god as he flew up. Zhu Ran smiled. Nushi, do you really want to start a war with the Sky Limit sect? Nu Shi faintly smiled. Sect Master Han Yuan, you're a grandmaster. If we're being reasonable, you're currently provoking us in our Demon Spirit Clan's territory. We didn't take the initiative to start a war. Forget it, Han Yuan laughed. From now on, there will be no more demon spirits between the mountains. Kill them. Chapter 967. The sound of the guqin intertwined with the lightning. Han Yuan's every palm was filled with intense lightning. When his palm landed, not only did it clash with Nu Shire's power, but it also burned the surrounding demon spirits with lower cultivation into ashes. Han Yuan's cultivation was very shocking. He was proficient in the 3 laws of thunder, fire, and earth. The spirit pearl of law formed by the caste deity emerged from his body. He had the upper hand and his attacks were very fierce. Qin Yu, Liao Yang, and the rest all pulled out their sharp blades and rushed to the top of the mountain. On the other hand, the group of demons on the mountain let out a shrill cry. This was a battle to protect their homeland. They were ferocious. Bang! 2 rays of golden light collided. It was the divine will formed by Nu Shire and Han Yuan respectively. Half of the mountain was almost flattened. In the blink of an eye, at least 100 demon spirits had died under Han Yuan's divine power. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The demonic heart arrows fell like rain and continuously hit the protective upstanding chi of the experts of the Tinjua sect. The god-hunting crossbow was a kind of crossbow that was tempered by the demonic heart stone. It was powerful and required 3 to 5 people to use it at the same time. The powerful force was enough to penetrate the protective upstanding chi of the experts below the immortal state. As a result, blood splattered everywhere. In a battle between an army and a god, it was not always the god who won. This was the first time that the Baizei mercenaries were fighting against a god. However, it seemed that the soldiers were not very afraid. Even though their companions had died tragically, they did not lose the courage to fight. Liu Bai was not good at other things, but he was good at leading troops. At least, he had injected a fearless soul into the Baizei mercenaries. That was enough. On the Baizei fortress, which was about 500 meters away, Lin Muyu, Qinin, Tang Xiaoxi, and the rest watched from afar. Are we really not going to help? Si Kongyao blinked her eyes. Don't worry, Nu sure can handle it. Lin Muyu smiled with a deep gaze. Although the Korean one is strong, Nushifu also has the help of Bai Zai's mercenaries. She won't lose. Furthermore, there are many demon spirits. If nothing goes wrong, Qinyu will soon order a retreat. His main opponent is Gong Xiangming in East Com City, not us. He won't let all his trump cards die in the forest of no return. Qini nodded. Yao, if we make a move, whether it's Brother Yu's Xinyuan sword, Xiaoxi's nine-tailed transformation, or my eyes of flaming light, they will all expose our identities. But we've already planned it before we came here. The three of us will never expose our identities. We'll just help you finish the show in secret. Si Kongyao smiled. Actually, the ones performing the show are not the Bai Zai's mercenaries. The ones performing the show are Qinyu and Gong Xiangming. The two of them are the ones who control the entire continent's military strength. Yes, but I don't know if Gong Xiangming will disappoint us. The corners of Lin Muyu's mouth curled up. The longer Gong Xiangming can last, the more advantageous it will be for us. Qinyu's army has already eaten up all the grass outside East Com City. They'll start killing the horses now. Let's see what they can eat in half a month. Half an hour later, just as Lin Muyu had expected, Qinyu issued the order to retreat. More than half of the 100 experts from the Heavenly Extremity sect had died. Even Han Yuan's face was slightly pale. If they continued fighting, they would be able to destroy all the elites of the demon spirit race and even kill Nu Shi. However, the price was something the Celestial Empire couldn't bear. Han Yuan could kill Nu Shi, but Nu Shi's counterattack could also pose a fatal threat to Han Yuan. In the heavy snow, Qinyu's men came and left quickly. The hill was covered in corpses. This hasty battle had killed at least 1,000 demon spirits. Nu Shi's expression was extremely ugly. Rustle, rustle, Lin Muyu's figure appeared on the hill. She looked at the corpses on the ground and said, Nu Shi, I'm sorry for making you suffer such a huge loss. Nu Shi smiled in a daze. This is better than being annihilated, right? Yes. Your Highness, I have something to ask you. Go ahead. In the Battle of Tsangnan Province, I heard that although you defeated the army of the Tianji Empire, the Qin army also lost over 200,000 people. Those are 200,000 lives. Doesn't Your Highness you feel any guilt? She looked deeply at Lin Muyu with her beautiful eyes, as if she wanted to see the answer in the depths of his heart. Lin Muyu looked at the team that was cleaning up the corpses at the foot of the hill. He was wearing a black robe and had his back facing Nu Shi. He laughed self-mockingly and said, Guilt is long gone. If guilt can help me win the war and help me recover the lost land, I will be filled with guilt. It's a pity that guilt can't help me at all. Therefore, I won't think about it or look at it. Nu Shi moved her red lips and said, Thank you for your hard work, Your Highness. It's not hard at all. Lin Muyu turned to look at her and revealed a bright smile. He said, After so many years in my eyes, the war no longer looks like a war. It's just a map. The number of troops on the map, the strength of the troops, the supply of provisions and so on. The rest won't enter my thoughts. Every general and every soldier is just a chess piece on the map. What I need to do is to make good use of these chess pieces and achieve the greatest victory with the smallest loss. Chess piece, map? Nu Shi murmured. Lin Muyu smiled and said, In this world there are small kindness and great kindness. Taking pity on one person and giving up everything for one person is a small kindness. Taking pity on the people of the world and looking at the overall situation is the most important. Even if it means sacrificing some innocent people, this is a great kindness. This is the way of the world. How can there be such a thing as benevolence and virtue at the same time? The so-called famous generals all have blood on their hands. Nu Shi chuckled and said, Looks like I chose to follow Your Highness you. This choice is not wrong. Lin Muyu stepped on the snow under her feet and looked at the team that was cleaning up the corpses in the distance. She said, I hope the war will end soon. I believe that the demons and humans will live in peace one day. How can we live in peace? Nu Shi was a little hopeful. Rules and principles. Lin Muyu said indifferently, Only the victors can write such rules. Therefore we have no way out. If we want to make a new rule, we must defeat all those who don't obey. So, Nu Shi, you are the same as me. In order to win dignity and survival, we can only continuously defeat strong enemies. There is no other way. And I will. Lin Muyu pursed her lips and suddenly smiled. Your Highness, what are you smiling at? Nu Shi asked. I'm laughing at myself. I used to be an unconventional person. I always felt that those old rules were like a joke. But now I'm like an old teacher preaching to others. Moreover, I'm preaching to an elder like you, Nu Shi. Don't you think it's funny? Me? Nu Shi's bright eyes rippled with laughter. What elder? Am I not as beautiful as a flower? Your Highness, your words are simply too hurtful. All right, I won't say it anymore. Behind her, Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi had also arrived. Naturally, she couldn't say anything more. The wind and snow covered everyone's voices and smiles. The entire forest of no return had become the territory of Baizei's mercenaries. It had also become a forbidden area for the Celestial Empire. The next day after Qinyu returned to the camp, the Celestial Empire's attack became even more frenzied. By nightfall, the Celestial Empire had left more than 10,000 corpses at the foot of the city and retreated to the camp. But it was also late at night that the gates of the distant Eastcom city slowly opened. Rows of carriages emerged from the city and dragged the mountains of corpses into the city. Everything was carried out quietly, but it didn't escape the eyes of the Celestial Empire's dragon riders. What? Qinyu looked at the dragon riders in shock and anger. The young dragon rider's face was pale as he said, "Your Majesty. They lured the corpses of our soldiers into the city. Before the sky even brightened, they set up countless cauldrons and cooked the corpses of our soldiers." Qinyu finally understood why Gong Xiangming didn't clean up the corpses at the foot of the city. It turned out that Gong Xiangming had long anticipated this day. In an instant, Qinyu felt a chill in his heart. Gong Xiangming was just a scholar, but after going on an expedition to the Shattered Cauldron realm, he had actually become so shrewd. It was truly frightening. He walked out of the camp and looked at the towering Eastcom city in the distance. This city didn't seem like an isolated city. Instead, it seemed more like a tool of war. Qinyu's eyes were blood-red as he indifferently said, "Gather the generals at daybreak and discuss the strategy to breach the city. We can't delay any longer." Understood. However, the so-called strategy to breach the city was just to increase the strength of the siege. This also meant that more people would die. On the 25th, the Celestial Empire broke through the eastern gate with the help of the One. However, the more than 10,000 troops that entered the city were ambushed and killed by the Tianji Empire's iron hooves. In the end, all their efforts were in vain. On the 29th, all of the Celestial Empire's warhorses were eaten. The new year arrived. On the 5th day of the first month, the Celestial Empire ran out of food and ammunition. Qinyu finally couldn't withstand the pressure from his ministers and ordered his troops to retreat. However, the road back had already been cut off by Baizei's mercenaries. They could only head south through Firegen province and borrow the Blackstone Empire's route to return to the mainland. However, on the same day that the Celestial Empire's army retreated, Gong Xiangming and 200,000 reinforcements from the Tianji Empire left the city. They worked together to attack the Celestial Empire's declining army. The two sides fought for 2 days and 2 nights, suffering heavy losses. On the 9th day of the first month, 7743, Qinyu's army entered Firegen province. They were ambushed by Baizei's mercenaries and lost more than 50,000 men. On the 14th day of the first month, 7743, Qinyu's army left Firegen province. Less than 200,000 men remained from his army of 1 million. On the 17th day of the first month, 7743, Qinyu's army was ambushed by Shi Yuan's 300,000 men in the Blackstone Empire's Red Cliff province. They lost nearly half of their army. On the 27th day of the first month, 7743, Qinyu finally returned to the mainland. Less than 90,000 men remained from his army of 1 million. Jinyun Pass. Qinyu's defeated army was chased all the way. On the 3rd day after they forced their way out of Jinyun Pass, Qinyu had long since become a bird startled by the mere twang of a bow. When the concentrated sounds of horse hooves came from the ancient road, Qinyu almost fell off his warhorse. Far away in the forest, there was a banner fluttering in the wind. It was the Celestial Empire's wolf-head war flag. Liao Yang couldn't help but exclaim in surprise, "Your Highness, it's our own army. It's the Sun Yan army stationed outside Jinyun Pass. It's the commander of the Sun Yan army, Lord Su Zhan." Sure enough, the armored cavalry stopped in the distance. A general came forward and knelt on both knees. "Your Highness, you've suffered. Your subordinate Su Zhan led the 200,000 men from the Sun Yan army to rescue you." Qinyu stood in the snow in a daze. His face was devoid of color. Suddenly, he burst into tears. "You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.